Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fake behind it all? Teeth clenched tight with silver braces. Rehearse my shame, rehearse my faces. You say I'm fine, I'm not alone. The world outside proves me wrong. No sideways looks my swan song. I talk like I'm above the mess. Sleepwalk through my emptiness. Every promise that I can't feels borrowed, bent and delicate. Mirror, mirror, break your spell. You don't even know me well. Your cruelty is honesty, and I'm addicted to what I see. Mirror, mirror, bleed me clean. Show me what I've never seen. A devil tired of damnation. Angels born with salvation. I wear my sorrow like a joke. Drink it slow so I don't choke. Everybody looks annoyed, but ain't nobody want this void. Mirror, mirror, bleed me dry. Mirror, mirror, let me cry. Say I'm wrong, say I'm weak. I pray the Lord my soul will seek. If I should die before tonight, pyre, pyre, burning bright. I asked for help, I got the screen. Static feeling so obscene. Mirror, mirror, who's watching who? Mirror, mirror on the wall, I never learned to stand that tall. If this is me, then let me crawl. Just don't say I had it all. Mirror, 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 mirror on the wall. Mirror, mirror, mirror on the
And good morning, best chat. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to episode Delicious Malicious Morning Nonsense Chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We had a wonderful, fantastic Saturday and Sunday and Friday chat. Great weekend, all that good stuff. Man, we had quite a weekend, chat. Quite the weekend indeed. Friday we finished Birds of Prey. Man, that was I thought that movie would be cringe. Like I knew it had to be pretty cringe. But I did not. I severely underestimated the levels of cringe that it would be. It was just painful. We had it separated in 2 days. Just a lot of commentary on that one. It is rough. That was a rough movie to sit through. It was so cringe. It was so cringe. It definitely was made by someone who was delusional. Definitely. But then Saturday we went into Ice Queendom. We got a few more episodes into Ice Queendom. Pretty interesting. It still has to work with the story of Ruby, but it's pretty interesting. However, there was one thing that happened in Ice Queendom. that really sold me on this series. And it was this point in the episode I thought it was pretty funny where she kind of where Dream Weiss or Evil Weiss or whatever negative Weiss they call her in the show popped in and said like, hey Weiss, we're here to save you. And then she faces down Blake and says, in my world there are no faunas. Like, whoa. And I don't know why it came up. Well, I didn't know why it came up, but the show Agami Got Killed came up at some point. I assume it's around here. And like, I don't know why it came up, but someone mentioned the show Agami Got Killed, and I was like, is it pretty good? And I'm like, oh, it's pretty all right for the most part. So I did actually start watching it. But now I know why the show was mentioned, because what's it called? What's her name? Esdeath? Like what? General Esdeath? I'm like, wait a minute. Wait 1 second here. So obviously someone watched Agame Got Killed and then came up with this idea for Weiss. Because she's just Esdeath. I guess, wow, this is like 1 for 1. Like she even has the hat and everything. Although I do like Esdeath quite a bit. It was pretty cool. So in fact, not only do I started watching Agami Got Killed, not only do I like Esdeath, she kind of revived the show for me. So I was watching Agami Got Killed. I was like, this is all right, I guess. It kind of felt disjointed. Like the tones kind of felt off and weird. Like it's supposed to be this really brutal world where people are getting tortured and killed and everyone's corrupt, like high levels of corruption, and it's supposed to be this brutal world, right? But then you have like the Saturday morning cartoon Scooby-Doo gang of assassins. It just clashes so much. It's a little too heavy on the comedy. Where I was expecting it to have more of the tone of, say, I don't know, Death Note, where because of how hard they're trying to sell this world of harshness, like this world of death and destruction and all that stuff, and how cruel it is. And then we have like the Saturday morning cartoon Scooby-Doo gang of assassins. Like, okay, well, this is kind of, or it feels like an isekai now. I thought like there's the ditzy girl. There's the Agame who likes meat a lot, like Sokka, and everyone's just kind of funny. I don't know if it's kind of funny. This doesn't match the tone at all. Where as in Death Note, they had like some funny moments, some moments of levity, but it all kind of made sense. It kind of made sense in the world. Like they kind of felt like they fit in the world of what they're trying to push, and they just all fit. Where I don't know, Gabi Got Killed, kind of like they have everyone's disjointed. It feels too chipper and like I don't know, too shonen, I guess you could say, for the tone of the world they're trying to set. Especially since, of course, some of the main characters can die, and they kind of start dying after just a few episodes. So I was like coasting through it. It's like, I'm not sure if I like this. I mean, it's okay. And then boom, Esdeath comes in. I'm in. I'm invested. I'm full on, because that now the show seems to come alive with when Esdeath gets when she steps in, when she comes into play. So when it came here so I guess that's why the Agami Got Killed was mentioned, was because this is just Esdeath. Like they kind of just took Esdeath's or I guess design or appearance and just gave it to Weiss. Esdeath even has like ice powers, so she even has the ice thing going on that Weiss does. I was like, that's kind of funny. Right? And I've seen this happen in Ruby before, right? I kind of went and watched Ruby, and then I watched another anime, which in that case was Full Metal Alchemist. We started watching that one for the first time, and I was like, wait a minute. Cinder from Ruby is this Lust from Full Metal Alchemist. Like it's almost 1 for 1, the character. It's kind of made their own Lust in Ruby and kind of made that the bad guy. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did the same thing for Esdeath for Weiss, because almost 1 for 1. Like it's just, except Weiss has shorter hair. I think that's about it, and isn't as, we'll say, well endowed as Death. But it is that was kind of funny. But I did start watching Gami Got Killed. Carlos Batista, hello to you. Morning, Eldine, best chat. Hello to you, Carlos Batista. Sean W. Gone says, good morning, best chat. Remember to stay hydrated and stand against the evil. R.I.P. Chuck Norris. He was supposed to die 20 years ago, but death was too afraid to tell him. Yeah, exactly. Death finally got the courage. And then Chuck Norris said, you know what? It's time. And then allowed death to take him. I'm pretty sure that's kind of what happened. Christmas says, I know we don't like him, but Steve Shives has a somewhat decent video of why Troy's mother sucks. Though I disagree that the actor was bad. If you hate the actor did it. The actor was, that's a, what's her name? Basil? She was like Gene Roddenberry's wife, I think. She played Nurse Chapel. She played Troy's mother. And she was also the voice of the computer on TNG. And I think that those are the ones I know of. She might have played more. I'm not really sure, but I kind of liked Deanna's mother, Deanna Troy's mother. She was pretty entertaining. I like the fact that I like how much she tortured the crew and everything and stuff like that. So especially DS9, she's really good in DS9 as well as Troy's mother. The Royal House of Beta Z. She was kind of arrogant and kind of a jerk, but in kind of a lovable way. I thought that was kind of funny. I did like her quite a bit. Let's see. I didn't know Steve Shives was still around. Like, what does he do? I know. Last time I saw a video from him, it was a video about why do conservatives love Star Trek? Is it about the oppression? How there's military stuff everywhere? Like he's like a child. Steve Shives is like a child brain weirdo, or there's this living Reddit or something. I just can't grasp that things are not the internet. He's like a child brain man somehow. Let's see. Picard should have left her to the Ferengi. No one would blame him. I think she got sold to the Ferengi's arms or something like that. Let's see. And then she kind of liked it. I think she kind of liked it. Like a lot of women really liked it. Like secretly liked the Ferengi. Like what's her name? Jadzia. Jadzia Dax is like, no, I don't want to be enslaved or anything, but I do like hanging out there with the Ferengi. Like a lot of women tend to enjoy hanging out with the Ferengi for some reason. Let's see, Gregory 90 says, a good one about Level in Best Chat. Since you saw Birds of Prey, recommend the video by Filmento called Birds of Prey Imposter Deadpool Jack Sparrow. Sounds pretty funny. Hey, we will. Let's see. Gregory 90 says, how Birds of Prey should have ended. I'll check it out. It's the Hudson Melody Hudson says, good morning, folks. Amazing Digital Circus released episode 8 over the weekend. It's been one of the better indie animations to come out. Hoping its final episode in June sticks the landing. I hope so. I wonder if the creator's going to stick with it, because I remember the last time I heard of the creator was like, you know what, I don't want the show anymore if it's going to have this sort of audience. But that they mean this like sex pest, like toxic audience that Steven Universe and stuff has. It seems to be the case. Critic says the more of best chat. Back to the spin with another Monday, brand new spanking Monday. They will both get your coffee. Let's see. Loom lifts. The music slaps though. Where can else can I listen to it? Not nowhere. Technically speaking, I did promise Lady Fastlow that I would upload it like 3 weeks ago, but I haven't yet. But I will. I'll get it on it. I think I'll make it like members only. Though I think I'll make it members only. Let's see, chat. Let's see. But I'll do that soon. Soon. Kyle Vampire God says Chuck Norris didn't die. He simply left his physical form to continue the fight with Sega Sancho. Yeah, he's up there with Sega Sancho. Possibly get a rematch against Bruce Lee. Yeah, just get him back for that chest hair. And see, Reverend a good evening. There's best chat. Daily reminder never to take advice from the current Hollywood. They are nothing but the shadow of their former selves. Yeah, because that's what happened when you let woke take over. They did not see it coming. It's tough. Like it's tough. It's really it's like everything's normally, then you blink, and one day woke is taken over, and they do that because of love bombing. Like it slowly takes over because they come in, they're served coffee, they're a little bit boisterous. They say, "Oh, this is a little bit sexist," and like, "Oh, well, I don't want to be sexist," and start changing things little bit by little bit. This is why they make like these. They complain about stupid crap because people, and then you'll say, well, it doesn't matter, so why change it? Like, oh, well, if it doesn't matter, why not change it? So it's like little bit by little bit, they change little bit by little bit, getting more power, and every change is not necessarily important of itself, but it's proof that they have power, right? They're building up more precedent, and then suddenly we're seeing the big stuff. Like we gotta change, we gotta let we got to push women to chop off their sons' dicks and everything. Like it we didn't see it escalate, but the how it got there was by little, so, little tiny changes. And it's tough to fight back against it because they at first it's like, well, it's tiny little things. It's ridiculous for you to get mad that they're trying to change it. And that's kind of what all the soy boys and male nerds and all these reasonable people were like, oh, well, give it to them. It's important to them. It's not really that important to us. So, it's little bit by little bit. And then suddenly they're running the show and they're ruining everything. That's how they did it. So when we fight back, and it's like oh, I can't believe conservatives are angry about a trans person being on a beer can. Like, it's such an insignificant thing. That's how they did it. They took away the Land O'Lakes, they took away the Indian and everything. Haha, it's what a funny joke. But that's what happens. That's how they do it. It's these small little things. It doesn't matter if you think they're stupid. They're victories, and they kind of built up around that. So that's how it worked, like little bit by little bit. They love bombed, and kind of just surged their way, like secretly wormed their way into positions of power with love bombing, and the whole flood of, oh, it's no big deal. Stop getting mad about that. You're a grown man, but you're getting upset about XYZ, and then they shame you, like people will shame you on their behalf into compliance. Don't even need to be asked to do so. It's like, oh, well, I'm a mature person. Why are you getting upset about this? Obviously, let them have this, let them have that, let them have that. And suddenly it's the agenda is just smeared all over every movie. That's how it worked, little by little bit. So when Trump renamed the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, like it's almost seems like it's nothing, but it is a big deal in the culture war. Like the culture war, it needs to be a little bit more than us complaining about what they're doing. like just imagine like complaining about being under the boot heel of a dictator. Like, it's not going to do much. There has to be a resistance to carry it out. There has to be a fight back against it, right? So things like this is kind of like we gotta demand more. We gotta demand more and more shows and more movies, punish shows and movies for having agenda. Yeah, we're gonna get shamed for it by people who are not aware, by useful idiots and everything. But like, oh, you're angry that it has a black person in it? No, we're angry that it was this one character was changed to a black character, even though the character was like a Viking or something. Like, all the cast is white. They should all be white. It's a white area, and it's a history of a white country, like some place in Scandinavia or Germany or whatever. And suddenly there's like a bunch of black dudes in the main cast. For what reason? It's the agenda. We got to have diversity. Like, no, you don't, because this is a historical drama, and there was no gay crippled black king in England's bloodline. Sorry, there was not. All right, Anne Boleyn was not black. Cleopatra was not black. That sort of thing. So we're upset at the agenda, but then when we get upset about it, like, oh, you're getting upset because it's a black person. What does it matter? It's just about the character, right? No, we finally got Sandman, and because the agenda, we were robbed of getting the actual death that we waited so long for, right? Everyone wanted the cute, quirky, the fun death from the comics. This pale skinned lady with wild hair and who's just really fun and bright despite being a goth, right? Everyone wanted that, but no, because of the agenda, it's just like a regular black lady from London. That's what we got, because we gotta have diversity in the Eternals, even though we currently have a desire, which is both man and woman, and we have women in there, we have all kinds of stuff in there. We got the body positive person with depression or despair, I think. Yeah, so right now they've been hauled out in their shell of their former selves because they've been taken over by woke. They just worm their way into positions of power. Unfortunately, they're nothing but a shadow of the former selves. Yeah, so this is why indies are coming up, because they're being controlled by the outside the system, so they don't have to obey the woke agenda. They don't have to they don't have to obey the fear of losing your job. Guess what? How it works? That's how it works. That's how we've seen it work. It's kind of why back in the day, remember Sean Gordon Murphy? Sean Gordon Murphy made Batman the White Knight, and it was huge. And people loved this comic. People kind of bought this comic. It was huge. He quickly surged to one of the most popular and prominent names in comics at the time. But he still had to bend the knee to people like Max Visaggio, who is terrible at writing comics, and and sells like none, but is trans, and so therefore had a lot of power and sway anyway. So you even had Sean Gordon Murphy having to bend the knee to people like Max Visaggio. That's how it goes. You have to do this. No matter how successful you are in this industry, you at least at one point had to bend the knee to the woke agenda. So to the wokies. And it was very unfortunate. It's kind of how they dictate everything. That's why current day Hollywood is a shell of its former self. LT Megathoughts is back to work after lunch break. Miss my PC already. I bet you do. It's always sucks to get back to work after a nice break. Boar Legion, good morning, LD and Brezchek. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Speaking of him says good morning, LD and Brezchek. Hello to you, Speaking of him, good morning to you. Let's go listen to the music. It's to the music from the beginning. I'll put it up. You know what? I will make I was gonna make one more song and put everything up, but things got in the way. Like the last video, severely underperforming. I was going to do more stuff, but I have to go right back into making other videos. I had to go right back into making other videos. I'm running 2 more scripts at the moment. So I was going to do more creative stuff on the side, like make another song or whatever, but the Game of Thrones video severely underperformed. I guess I spent a whole month making a video that's going to get me $30. It's like, man, have you imagine working really hard on a project that's going to give you that, like, for a month, it gives you only $30? Like, damn. So I went hard at work on 2 more videos. I made some good progress on both. One is Star Wars related, one is Free Ren related. I think people will like those. I at least hope so. But I'll put them up soon when I get a chance. Kane Gainer says good morning. Lit Devon. Hello to Kane Catering. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's in fences. Praise be to LD. Best chat. And of course, Space King. Taking a few days off from an overnight job, just trying to catch up on stuff that I've ignored and working this shift. Fantastic. My supervisor tried to ask me to come in anyway. I said no. Yeah, they'll do that. Let's see. Geeky News says, good day, LD and Best Chat. I wanted to watch the Twitch streams, but they're at 4 a.m. for me. Yeah, I make them available soon. Pretty soon. Probably maybe during the stream. I make them available on Twitch publicly. As death is why. Yeah, now I know that part. Now I know. I think officially $2 super chat. Loom lives says, where can I listen to this music from the beginning? Well, I usually play at the beginning of each stream, but I'll go ahead and make them I put them up on the channel for members soon. For members. And see. Sharing Trying says, good morning. All sleep cycle is messed up again, but I'm here. Yeah, I know how that goes. Editing is an intense thing. If you're trying to make like 5 minutes a day at the very least, it's tough. So yeah, my sleep cycle went outside the window to do this to get this done. The last video done. I thought it was going to do a lot better, but like every time I try to follow trend, it just doesn't work out. Like if I made like people say that oh yeah, if you make a comic book with a cute girl main protagonist, oh that's easy money. Well, not for me. Not for me. I had to pull teeth to get people to back that thing, and it still didn't make it. And then everyone's talking about Another 7 Kingdoms, and there I put Dunk and Eddard Stark on there, and severely underperformed. Like, okay, I'm not allowed to follow trends, I guess. Every time I follow, like back then I was covering Acolyte, right? Everyone's covering Acolyte. Acolyte's video were booming. I tried to follow that trend, nothing. I got just every video flatlined. I don't know what the hell. So I'm not allowed to I can't follow trends because they do not work for me for some reason. If I jump on a trend, it just flatlines, despite supposed to being, hot off the presses, like really big banger things. But if I come out of nowhere with a video that's just I put together some other way, like some other topic, it does pretty well. So if I should have known better to follow trends, I guess. I just try to catch that fire from Nine 7 Kingdoms. I should have known better, because that following trends for me, whatever would work for everyone else does not work for me ever does not work for me. So I got 2 more things ready to go. We're not ready to go. but I'm working on 2 more scripts simultaneously right now to get those out, and I got a lot of ideas. So so instead of going to work on some other stuff though, I'm doubling down on some video creation. I was going to work on Substack or whatever, but I got to make more videos. So I'm hard at work on those right now. Right now, he says that the version of Weiss looks like less crazy. Yeah, it's like a less crazy one. She's more like a more collected, um, I'm here to work at the office kind of version of Esdeath, as opposed to I love killing people kind of Esdeath, which is regular Esdeath. Let's see. Geeky News says, watch channel Soldier. It's by the mangaka of Akame got killed, and he made it just because he wanted to use Esdeath's character design again. Wait, again? Wait a minute. So so Akame got killed did this? The Akame got killed guy did this? I didn't even know that. Maybe that, I guess it makes sense. It's a DT Blues reviews. Akame Kill has a lot of really annoying characters, but it's not very good in my opinion. Yeah, I was trying to check it out, see how it goes. It's okay. The first episode is pretty interesting. By the time you get to the end there, like whoa, it really hammers home how cruel the world is and how interesting the twists are. Like, oh, okay, well they're trying to kill the bad guys, trying to take down corruption. It's not about eat the rich. It's about taking down corruption and everything. I know it's pretty interesting. But once Esdeath has made an entrance, now I'm interested. So things started to ramp up pretty quickly there. Letty Fast Little to you. Good morning, LD and Bedshed. How was Hail Mary? I don't think I've seen that one yet. I don't think I've seen that one. Let's see. But apparently it's pretty good. I heard a lot of really good reviews about it so far. He says, that is too bad. I hope Glitch will continue to make more animations. Let's see. A bunch says Death retired and Chuck Norris took the job. That's what. Did you ever read what was it? Incarnation of Mortality with Piers Anthony. That's totally something that could happen. The first book in that series, by the way, is called On a Pale Horse, which is about a guy who accidentally kills Death and becomes Death afterward. Of course, the next one is like the guy that becomes, the incarnation of time. Then a Tangled Skein is like the lady that becomes the incarnation of fate. She becomes Clotho first, and then later on she becomes Atropos, I think. I think so. Or what the middle one is. Because she quits being their incarnation, and then she has a family and everything, and she gets a little older, and then she goes back to become the incarnation again. But this time she's going to be, the middle, the motherly one, the mother of the three. Let's see. Let me see your chat. Caricature says, it's the boiling frog method. Yeah, just slowly taking over time, and then you don't notice until boom, it's too late. The woke is taking over. Let's see. Elizabeth says, if you like Esdeath LD, I recommend the manga and web novel Fade to be loved by a villain. Sounds like right up my alley already. I turned on Gotcha Isekai, where a tactical genius MC Tard wrangles a group of women cursed with demon powers. That sounds pretty good. It's the Yokai Zeros. I'm going to graduate school. Hey, congratulations, Yokai Zero. Awesome. Well done. Fantastic. Hope things go well, Yokai Zero. Fantastic. Well done once again. Let's see. All right. Valley Festival says conservatives, both sides, saw the slippery slope back in the 90s. Unfortunately, the satanic panic carriers were louder and being useful idiots helped fast forward the culture corruption. Yeah, they were really good at it, pointing out and showing the crazy conservative stuff, so that to depower conservatives. So you got like the satanic panic, and then during the religious wars on the internet, it was just like, oh yeah, here is the Westboro Baptist Church. Remember them? Remember those guys? Oh yeah, wow, conservatives are crazy. So they're really good at pointing to like these wackaloon conservatives. or would you would attach to right-wing conservatives people like, oh, it's some wackaloon people. There's a Westboro Baptist Church that's like boycotting a funeral and stuff. Like, it's crazy. It's a Talmiz got a new mic because it seems to be not yet. Well, maybe from a couple of years ago, but now I have this one. Let's see chat. Optimus Chimera says, good morning, LD and Best Chat. Hello to you, Optimus Chimera. Good morning. Let's see here, chat. Make sure this is ready to go. Eldenberger says, your GOT video was really good. I liked it, despite not yet having watched the show. Sorry to hear it's underperforming. And I guess it's lost in the algorithm or something like that, but yeah, severely underperforming. But I got two more. I got two more ready to, I got two more scripts I'm working on. Hopefully that works out pretty well. Let me see here, chat. Let me see here. I blame the YouTube algorithm. And the thing is, it's getting a lot of interaction though. Like it's not doesn't really get that many views, but it's got a lot of interaction. It got like over 300 comments and lots of thumbs up, lots of thumbs up. So you think that they would push it more, but they're not. I don't know why. I mean, I did have like two terrible thumbnails. I did eventually change it to a much better thumbnail, but you know, it's it should be better now. I think the last thumbnail is pretty good. It's a Megathon. I don't know if it helped. I watched the video 3 times. We loved the fantastic job. But thank you much, Megathon. Appreciate it. Going to give you one of these. Thank you very much for your support and time, Megathon. Really do appreciate it. Yes. Thank you much, Megathon. Appreciate it. Let's see. All right, 1 second here. Let's see here, chat. All right. Yeah, I think I'm cursed that way. Like if the thing that works for everyone else will never ever work for me. I always have to think of something like from a different angle. It's really interesting. Like everyone's talking about the Acolyte, and I think people like the Acolyte videos. It's got no traction whatsoever for some reason while everyone's talking about it. Like that's weird. That's really weird. Why did my Acolyte videos get like no views comparatively? And I put a lot of work into those things, and there's like no views. Meanwhile, someone who can just complain about the Acolyte for 10 minutes or whatever, get a like little thumbnail up there, gets like 5 million trillion views. Like it's kind of like you know that thing. Let's see here. Let's see. 1 second here, chat. Let's see here. There we go. All right. I think with the whole like the teachers are like, yeah, students are finding out that if working hard doesn't pay off. That's kind of what it feels like. Like working hard doesn't really pay off. Like it's just it is if anything, putting the extra effort and everything as opposed to just complaining for 20 minutes seems to hurt me. It's like it takes a long time to get all that stuff done. So it's like you get punished for getting punished for working harder. And see at that point. But I guess I have to find new angles. I cannot follow trends. If I follow trends, I get nothing. It gets squashed. It does not work. So I can't really follow trends, I guess. Cody Druger says trending topics only work if you put out the fast slop video. Yeah, you're just take too long to make. They do. I'd be way better off if I just made slop. It's very nice. I think the Seven Kingdoms trend was down by the time he posted the video, probably because it's been. I started when it was when we had a few weeks left before the show finished, and it just takes way too long. I don't know, it just takes too long. Because I reread Julius Caesar and stuff like that. Maybe I shouldn't do that. They should just find some slop stuff to do. Let's see. Basically, it's the Santa Claus, but for death. I guess. Yeah. On a pale horse, kind of. Yeah. So like in the Santa Claus, Tim Allen's character accidentally kills Santa Claus, becomes Santa Claus because he puts on the suit. It's pretty much what happens on a pale horse. Like he comes in, he's going to commit suicide. Death arrives a little bit early, and the main character is so startled to see death arrive, he kind of shoots him instead, and then shoots him in the face. And for some reason, Death was not wearing his mask because the mask will just make him impervious to everything. But apparently, he's not wearing the mask, so he shoots Death, kills Death. And then he puts on the suit to start to, pick up the job he left off because Death has very important work to do. And like, okay, so then they kind of like, okay, you killed Death and you put on the suit. You're the new Death now. That's kind of what happens there. Let's see. Loon Lives is kind of random, but really like your voice. Thank you very much, Loon Lives. Glad you do. And Cookie News says that the issue is that satanic panic conservatives still exist. Thinking about Matt Walsh. Yeah, it's kind of like they do exist. That's kind of the problem. And the thing is, there's a lot of like conservatives out there and right wingers out there who have like really good points, are really insightful, but the media will only shine on, put their cameras on the crazy ones to kind of debunk and delegitimize these people. Let's see. Let's see your chat. Let's see your chat. Leif Fezzik says Matt Walsh is a troll. He knows it. He doesn't. He just doesn't care. Conservatives aren't always one side politically. It's something of a slur activists weaponize against the silent majority. Yeah, it really does, and it's kind of their thing, right? Let's see. All right, chat. All right, chat. Thank you much. Alex Halo says the hype button would probably make it show more to people. Oh yeah, I forgot about the hype button thing. Let's see. Yeah, it's after 4 days. It's just yeah, the YouTube's like, oh, this even YouTube telling me this video is doing terribly. But it has a lot of interaction though. That's the weird part about it. It has a lot of it's like a 300 plus comments and like a bunch of likes. It's I think it has a like on Facebook. It got like 2 upvotes on Reddit so far. So I mean, it's pretty good, I guess. But it's good. It has a lot of interaction. It's just like YouTube isn't pushing it, I guess, for some reason. Anyway, Chad. Anyway, I found this video. Let me see here. Get this. All right. So I watched this a little bit. It's kind of funny. Turns out that the lesbian night game, after those devs have been saying, hey, do not cater to the dude bro or the gamer bro. You know, you're disinvited to playing the game if you don't like our politics or whatever. Turns out they might be begging for people to return after they bragged about having 200,000 or 25,000. Was it 225,000 or whatever? Maybe 250,000. I forgot what it was. It was 20,000 or 250,000 wish listed requests. I guess I don't know what they're called, but like apparently they bragged about their game getting wish listed like 20,000 or 250,000 times, and then either way, their game premiered to 400 live players and has never really gone past that. Like there wasn't like their game underperformed. I guess they have it worse than I did because they probably put a lot of work into this thing for years of work into this thing. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's what it was. I could have sworn it was 250,000. But I was like, to me, even now, like that sounds like a lot. But yeah, it was 250,000 wish lists on Steam. And then once it launched, it launched like 400 people, and that's it. It never. I don't think it grew past that. Let's check it out. But let's check it out. See what happened.
That has mattered more than it does right now, because I figured I was done with 1348 ex voto, and yet here we go again. Anyways, what did the lesbian night game do this time, you might be asking? Well, they kind of realized they screwed up and completely alienated their entire potential player base by believing that the modern audience would show up to defend them like usual, but that doesn't ever happen, really. I mean, yeah, sure, they, as in the Twitter warriors, did at least defend ex voto at first online, but then, like usual, these people don't play video games, and they definitely don't buy them either, which is clear as day based on those player counts alone for this generational fumble of a release. Now, I don't really want to punch down like this, but honestly, this development studio really tried to call everyone chuds in a really smug way, and then thought that they could get away with it. But then after the dust settled and everything imploded, said Leo, that's the developers behind this game, released a statement recently on Ex Voto which said a lot that can pretty much be condensed to, we hear you, we want to fix it, and we want to make the game into what people thought it was going to be at release. Hilariously, though, despite making this statement like they did, as you're seeing, which comes off as said Leo trying to be neutral and warm and welcoming all of a sudden, which I gotta say, is kind of weird, given the fact that they were smug enough to spit on Knight's Path when it got the attention that it got. They are now realizing, oh crap, the people who liked our posts online, they don't have any money, and they didn't show up like we thought they would. So now, we got a case.
It turns out that the wokies, they'll make it seem like they're really good at pushing you on social media. They're really good at making you seem like you have like an army behind you. But when it comes down to actually supporting you with money, they don't really do that. If they did, like every single woke Hollywood movie would be maybe $1 billion, 500 million, something like that. Every Marvel and DC would not be struggling because the woke audience, well, all these woke decisions seem very popular on social media. The woke writers will make a post, they'll get like 10,000 likes or whatever. They'll get 20,000 likes. They'll say, hey, we're making XYZ characters gay in the next issue. We're putting them in a relationship in the next issue. They'll get like 40,000 likes, and it looks huge. But then they come out with the comic and they sell maybe a couple of thousand issues, which is not even enough to make royalties, and that is so low in terms of sales. That's kind of what happens, and it happens like every time. It's kind of why the phrase "go woke, go broke" is a thing, because go woke, it feels good on social media because you get so much support, but you don't really get that. You don't really get that much in terms of sales. It doesn't really translate to the sales when you cater to the modern audience.
Cater to the people we hate and fix our game to it. Hopefully, by being neutral all of a sudden, we can convince these people that we hate to come back and buy our game that was, not made for them based on how we promoted it originally. We're not going to fall for that, by the way, guys. Like, however, hilariously still, as you can also see here on the original post that Sedlio made about this, in case you haven't noticed, those comments, yep, they're suspiciously turned off. Huh. Well, that is very interesting.
Interesting. It's always interesting to see when the comments are turned off for a big video game. Like, you'd think they would want a lot of interaction, and apparently not. Apparently they don't. Not this kind of interaction.
They really said, look, we hear you. We want to bridge that gap and make you love our lesbian night game, but no, you can't reply to this and give us more.
Let's see. Cardiac Interest says, I saw a clip where one of the bosses glitched up into the tree and soft locked the game because there's no range. Wow, really? There's no range attack? Well, that sucks. How did the boss get up in a tree? This makes no sense. That's pretty crazy.
Feedback, because that is not what we really want. Of course, you can't silence the reposting and the quote button, which is where the real feedback comes in to roundhouse kick Sedlio in the neck for being smug developers who hate the common gamer, as they tried to do in.
Like, if you're trying to make a game and you want support, don't be this level of smug. Like, the people who are developing the lesbian night game were so smug, and they didn't make any qualms or secrets about hating gamers. The traditional game, they want this, like, they want lesbians and gay people to buy this. It was very clear by their by how they tweeted and what they tweeted. They wanted they were hoping there's going to be a big surge of lesbians and gay dudes who bought this game, and like they could go, ha ha, take that, stupid gamer bros, because they made no secret about how much they hated the majority of gamers. But then maybe those 250,000 wish listed things were real. I don't know. But then maybe their comments got around and they said, you know what? I wish listed it, but having heard the developers, I don't want this anymore. And they went from 250,000 wish listed to 400 people. 400 people actually playing the game. Big decrease. All right, just it's a big difference there.
Failed doing as well. As this retweet says, this studio started a fight with Knight's Path to dunk on them. They gained all of these likes on Twitter. Then they released a buggy game that was clearly unfinished. Barely anybody played it, and now, because of the horrific failure, they want us to come back and buy and play the game now. Sorry, but no, that's not how that works. You played your hand when you attacked the players out here by, dunking on Knight's Path the way that you did. There was no reason to attack Knight's Path at all. You could have just said nothing and moved on. But you decided to turn your entire game into a political statement, saying that your lesbian night game would be the greatest thing ever, and then it released, and not.
Like, if it didn't tell me this, if he didn't tell me that this is from a game starring a woman, like, is this Sokka? Is this like a Sokka game? kind of feels like a how old is Sokka? Like 15 or something like that. 15, 16, and he has this hairstyle. Like, it could be like a Sokka kind of game, but medieval knight sort of thing. Medieval knight setting.
Even your critics could review the game well, since Xvoto is sitting with abysmal reviews. This is Xvoto's Metacritic, by the way, 52 out of 100 now. I think it dropped another point since I last spoke about this game, actually. I could be wrong, but
and 52, it's a user score. Wow, user score. So it has a Metascore of 52 and user score of 1.1. So even like the few people who actually played this game don't really like it very much, turns out. And based on 181 user ratings. So what, like half the people? I guess that makes sense because it's only got a 52 out of 100. Like half the people who played this did not like it. Overwhelming dislike. Wow, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. Again, look, if they just weren't assholes, if they just weren't so smug and unlikable, and just hated gamers, like openly hated gamers. Maybe there would be some push or there'd be some sympathy or whatever. But no, they had to go ahead and make their game political. They had to make it a political statement. They had to come out and say how much they hated gamers and don't care to dude bros, and how they went after the other Night game coming out that was more based, that did make some, have some more support for people. And boom, they opened up to 400 live viewers, and half of those guys said it sucked.
If you don't like my politics, don't buy my book.
And then we didn't. And that's Casey DeConnick, who famously goes, you don't really make any money anymore in comics. You don't make money into the trades. When she says the phrase "comics are booming," it's to mock people who say comics are booming, because Casey DeConnick also came out and just outwardly said comics are doing terribly. All right, no one's buying them. If you're a creator of comics, you don't make any money until the trades come out. All right. And so she had to openly mock the fact that, oh man, comic people. I hate people who say comics are booming because they're not. I might surprised by perform. I'm gonna make these 2 videos I'm working on now, and I was gonna work on Ruby. I'm on the side. I'm rewatching season 1, season 2, and everything. I was gonna make a video per season. I think that was gonna be that's my plan so far. Per season, 1 per season. I think if I wanted to be Knight growing up, but I wanted to earn it fair and square. Or being an American, being a cowgirl made this much sense, and just want to make it actually do. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with like female knights and everything. I mean, everyone loves Casca from Berserk, right? There's nothing wrong with female gunslingers are pretty cool. Like one of my favorite movies is The Quick and the Dead, which is, first of all, I think that's Russell Crowe's first movie in America. But that's a pretty good movie about a female gunslinger who kind of like learned how to shoot guns to eventually get revenge for her dad's death and everything. It's pretty awesome. I like that movie a lot. It's basically a shonen anime because it's about a gunslinging tournament where with Gene Hackman as the evil judge Herod who runs the town. And he sets up he knows he has all the enemies, so he sets up that gunslinging tournament that he participates in just to have it where so his enemies will just all challenge him out in the open instead of scheming behind his back. So, and he's like the best gunslinger in town, so he has no fear of losing. Pretty hardcore. It's a pretty good movie though. It's my favorites. Let's see.
Incredibly still, that user score, man, still sitting at a 1.1. Like, wow, good job, said Leo. You really showed the chuds wrong by catering to the mystical modern audience I keep hearing will always show up for these sorts of games, but never do. Like, it's cooked when IGN can't even defend you. Look at their review here, a 4 out of 10. They state that the game is bad. Everything about it doesn't serve itself as a positive to the player experience. And then they end the review there saying that 1348X Voto would have been better if it wasn't a video game in the first place. Dude, you know how bad your game needs to be for IGN, right? The lovers of Veilguard and stuff like that to play your propaganda game and go,
just you know your game must suck when the people who love propaganda games, like, how do you like Veilguard? How is that possible? It's so cringe. But when they like that and they're hating your game, your woke game, man, they messed up. Like if they in good conscience could not recommend your game, like when you're so bad you get a liar to tell the truth, man, you messed up big.
Yeah, this shouldn't even have been playable. But there you go, said Leo. You really showed the chuds this time, didn't you? Again, I'm not saying your reviews would have been better if you didn't attack Knight's Path. I mean, the game was still going to be the game that it was no matter what. But I mean, at the very least, you could have had some community defense by just being, I don't know, nice to people who had nothing to do with your game. Like, why attack? Like, right before release even? This is why I keep saying this, man. You gotta watch who you hire as your social media managers these days, especially because those people can ruin your game after all the years of work with a single tweet, dude. Now, granted, all right, I don't know if the person, responsible for these tweets is still at Sedlio or anything like that, but let's just assume that they are, right? If that person is still employed, you guys are crazy over there because whoever made those tweets,
I do not get these uppity, sassy, like, I got my degree in communications and social media or whatever. Don't get those. Don't get those guys. Just get someone who is reasonable and is really good at marketing. I don't get someone who is as sassy and wants to own the chuds. All right, it's not a good idea. They'll try to own the chuds and then tank your game sales. Man, this was awful. This was a bad one. 250,000 likes, man. 250,000 wish listed accounts. 250,000 accounts apparently wish listed this game. Maximum 400 players. Man, that's tough. That is rough. And I guess it's always interesting to see someone who has it worse than you. Like I thought, like, well, man, I worked for a long time on this video, got like 7,000 views and $30. But man, this is way rougher. Right? There's someone out there who always has it worse, right? And man, the people from 1348 X Voto, they're probably just having the worst couple of days. Awful. This is terrible. They had to cut off comments. Oh man, not doing too good. How's this going for 21 minutes? Like we had the news already. And see. Mr. says the people that champion X Veto aren't gamers. They think video games are for children. They only want X Veto to exist because they cater to their worldview. They'll never put their money. Yeah, it's kind of what happened with way back when the comic book thing happened. You know, they're getting they're pumping out Squirrel Girl, they're pumping out Kamala Khan, they're pumping out Riri Williams and everything. What we saw happen was a lot of SJWs were really invested. They would go to a store maybe, and they would get the comic book, and they would take a selfie with it, or they'll take a picture of it, and then they'll get the first issue, and then they'll just go away. Again, until the trades come out. Like that's kind of what Takeshi Deconic there. It goes, oh, you don't make any money until the trades. So maybe some of them went back and got the trades. So like, okay, well, it's all finished now. Let me go ahead and get the big bulk volume copy and get it and see what happened, right? So they might get those. But they're not going to be supporting every single issue, every single installment. And people who do go back to get the trades, probably not all that great in number comparatively, for what they need. And see, Leaf says, any gamers in chat? I just got Godfall, Dishonored, and Darksiders in my Steam library. Is there anything I should be aware of with either of these games? No, I haven't played Godfall. Dishonored was awesome. I really like Dishonored. I like those kind of games. And it's this first-person assassin game, but you get magic. It's pretty interesting. Darksiders is a lot of fun. The original Darksiders, where you're war, pretty cool. Especially the one where you're death. Pretty awesome. I have those. I have not played the one where you're the sister. I've not played that. It's on my wish list, but I have not played that one yet. Let's see. And the one where you're death is a substantial game. It's a substantial game. Speaking of video games, I got High on Life. It's on sale. I can't wait to play that one. It looks pretty fun. Like High on Life. And then I finally got Elden Ring to work. I don't know what the hell the issue is. I technically didn't fix the issue I had where it just pops on in this huge resolution. But if I launch it through the big picture thing on Steam, it works just fine. And see, they're in like Squirrel Girl in Marvel. Yeah, Squirrel Girl and Marvel Rivals looks normal. Like there were fan versions of Squirrel Girl coming out at the time that the original Squirrel Girl was coming out, or the woke Squirrel Girl was coming out, and the fan versions of Squirrel Girl, they're being inspired by the comic book because the actual comic book looked it was just awful. She looked like she has like some weird mental illness and had a shaved head. It was crazy, like this big fat Sinead O'Connell looking thing, and just derpy as hell. And then people were kind of made like fan versions of Squirrel Girl that was kind of cute and quirky looking, and essentially those fan versions became the version they use in Marvel Rivals because people like that version. As you kind of get, yeah, everyone likes a Squirrel Girl in Marvel. Yeah, she's that kind of cute and quirky in Marvel Rivals instead of the derpy weirdo that we got in the other things. Let's see. Vet says, thanks for the 37 month support. Says Aiden's latest video have same problem, LD. I'll see here. Yeah, well, I'm working on more videos now. Got 2 scripts going, so let's see how that goes. I'll redouble my efforts. Let's see here, chat. Let's see here. Geeky News says, comics should start releasing more compilation volumes and less single issues. Yeah, I think that's right now. People are kind of like less. I think it's I don't think it's political. It's more like Netflix has spoiled us, right? I think the whole Netflix thing has spoiled us, where Netflix will just make like an entire season of something and just drop it. I know they're trying to wean us off of that. Where okay, now we got to wait to the next week before they release the episode on streaming. But we kind of like the whole idea of either getting it all at once or waiting until it's all over so we can just binge watch it. So, I mean, this was a big thing. Even Bret Easton Ellis, the guy that wrote American Psycho, kind of made a whole had a whole screed about this called the binge era, where is this media where you just binge like an entire season of something or more. And so we kind of got used to that. So even though now they're trying to do the week by week release of episodes, a lot of us are still like, you know what? I'll just wait until it's all done and then I'll go back. So I think it's kind of what's like now, where people aren't really interested in getting the single issues anymore. And I know that because of Kelly Sue DeConnick, where they don't really want the single issues. They kind of want the trades, which is like all of them kind of, the compilation, the volumes and everything all put together. So they're kind of waiting for it to all be done so they can just buy one thing and then get the whole story. And a lot fewer ads. I don't know if you ever bought like a single issue, but it's like 40% story and 60% ad. It's not very good. It's not very good. So you get the trade, you get like the whole story and really no ads, like or at least very few comparatively. So it's way better to just wait to the trade. You get the whole story, not as many ads, and you can just binge it.
Costed you the house and the farm with their words. I'm telling you, man, if you are selling a product of any kind, it doesn't matter what it is, never attack the paying customer. I don't care how much you want to spew your politics everywhere and get into online fights, just don't do it, man. As someone who's been getting into plenty of online fights in the past few years, it's just never worth it, honestly. And like, also, there's plenty of base game developers that I also know who also just keep their opinions to themselves for this exact reason, and they just make cool games and then let the games like as art speak for themselves instead, because they're not going to publicly state how much they disagree with this thing or the other that people believe in or think, because they know it's not a good idea. So they'd rather just ignore it, right? And that's it. Just release the game, and that's all you got to do. I mean, Knight's Path is definitely, I mean, they're going to benefit like crazy from all of this.
And Knight's Path is like, they're ready to go. I mean, they're probably charged up. Man, I hope they have to succeed. They have to annihilate X Photo. They have to. This to solidify another victory. Again, like I said in the beginning of the stream, it might think, oh, it's just a little thing. It doesn't really matter. No, it does matter. It does matter. Ultimately, it does, because that's how they did it, little by little, little by little. It'll be another victory to brag about. Like, hey, this is proof, right? So the wokies will be like 100 woke movies will fail, but maybe one will succeed not because it's woke, because of some other stuff. But it seems woke, and they'll say, "Oh, look, woke works," and then they'll run with it, like, "Oh, look," and that'll be the definitive proof that everyone will run with, like, "Oh, look, woke works," because 1 out of 100 of their woke projects succeeded. That's how they do it. That's how it works. So, and then on the opposite side, non-woke works that don't cater to diversity or any of that stuff, 100 or 1,000 can succeed. And then one will fail, and they'll go, "Oh, look, see, that doesn't work. Looks like they should have had more diversity in there." And that's how they do it. So, I mean, every single victory is a good victory, even if it's just an indie game that's not woke, it's pretty based, winning out against Ex Voto, a woke game.
Releases, but that is going to be done by the sacrifice of Ex Voto. And again, saying that you hear all the feedback and hope people check out your game after you attack them, I don't know.
The Geeky News says comics should start releasing more compilation volumes and less single issues. I read Miss Marvel, and it's not that bad. The issue is that nothing happened in the first. Yeah, that's a big issue in a lot of it. So I read the first volume of Miss Marvel as well, and it actually isn't that bad. Look, the G. Willow Wilson is pretty good. She has her pedigree, I guess you could say, in making like teen dramas, I guess you could say. Like she's really good when it comes to young adult stuff, But when it comes to superhero stuff, not so much. Like if you kind of take it as a young adult novel or young adult story, the first Miss Marvel story, the young adult story works. Like it's Kamala Khan is just a geeky girl living in the city. She has she's a Muslim, and she has to adhere to like some religious restrictions and everything. So that gets you social conflict, which is what women really like. And he has like this. She has this really like religious brother who uses religion as an excuse to be lazy. That's kind of what happened with her brother. And then the first issue is about her going to a party, and then her sneaking out to go to a party, I think, and then some the bullies come in and they kind of slip her some alcohol, and she goes, "What? I'm drinking alcohol?" Like she's not supposed to drink alcohol. And so it's you get a bunch of social conflict in there. And it's like, she's got the social issues. She got social anxiety. She's kind of trying to be cool, but she's a nerd, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of social issue, a lot of social conflict in there. And that part is good. Which kind of leads me to the idea that if they want to write more comics that will draw in women, they should just have a separate line that's not superheroes. Like, not everything has to be superheroes. They should just have like, okay, here's DC's like romance line, where it doesn't have to adhere to the canon, 100 years of canon of Batman and stuff like that. Or even Marvel's romance line or whatever. They don't have to adhere to 100 years of continuity. It's just, here is a original world, original society, the characters. You can do whatever you want with them. They don't adhere to anything else. It's just the story, and that's it. And just have it be like a cool romance story, and we will buy it. I'd probably have more luck with that, because G. Willow Wilson was actually pretty good when it came down to the young adult novel, social issue, social conflict kind of story. But that's why even in the first one, it feels like the whole superhero thing is just tacked on. Like it's like a second thought as opposed to the main one, right? That's how it goes. So yeah, Miss Marvel is not that bad. The issue is nothing happens in the first issue. It does something does happen in the first issue if it was just a young adult novel. But because it's a superhero novel and the idea is it's supposed to be about superheroes, yeah, nothing really happens superhero wise. Like you're buying a superhero story and nothing superhero-y happens in the first book or in the first issue. But if you were sold a young adult novel about a Muslim girl with Muslim parents, basically forcing her to like adhere to a religion that she's not really sure of because she's a kind of American grown Muslim girl, then and then having the pressures of her friends being into it and everything, and then she's trying to like trying to fit in. She wants to fit in, but she also wants to adhere to this religion. That part's good. Like if it was just like a young adult novel, something does happen. Like a big issue does happen in the first issue. But because it's sold to you as a superhero comic, you don't really get any superheroing in the first issue. And like, yeah, nothing really happens. Like you gave me a burger without the meat. All right. If I just wanted the bread, I would have bought bread. But I bought a burger, so I kind of want burger stuff. Thank you very much. So yeah, if they just like kind of focused on that sort of thing, it would just kind of understood it kind of just did that sort of thing where they separate the line. There's nothing wrong with women writers making comic books for women. Nothing wrong at all. Right? It's just that they're trying to write women-centric stories in superhero stories, and it's not working. Right? Superheroes, like it or not, is predominantly a male-centric genre. It really is. It's the male fantasy of being powerful and getting out there and fighting bad guys. It's kind of like the souped-up version of, oh no, the airplane is being taken over by terrorists. I'll step in to stop them. That's a male fantasy. Right? Women don't have this fantasy by and large. Right? Not typically. Women don't usually have this fantasy. They have the fantasy of relationship-centric fantasies. They have which guy do I go with? Oh, Prince Charming is coming here to save me. They have that sort of thing. It's about emotional strength, about social conflict, that sort of thing. Okay, it's not the superhero fantasy is not in general a woman's fantasy. So even though even if they're trying to push romance in there or whatever, trying to make everyone gay, because kind of what young women like, it's not going to work. All right. And it definitely is not going to work as well as if they just had a comic book line that just focused on the romance, social issues, and the character being emotionally strong and all that stuff. It just doesn't work that way. And see, Romance Man here to say, yeah. So according to this, there's a study that happened that was commissioned by the Romance Writers of America, and there are some men that read romance. It's just that women predominantly dominate that genre. It's like 80% of romance readers are women. So there's like at least around 20% we'll say are men. So there are men out there that like romance. It's just they're dominated. It's just dominated by women, like completely dominated by women. So it wouldn't be surprising to have the romance cater to women. But it turns out that the older women, which make up the dominant force of romance readers, they like traditional romance. They like the open shirt Chad, the those Harlequin romances. The younger women who are lesser of the readers, there's not as many of them, but are a lot louder of voice. They like the more toxic stuff. They like the everything being like they want the brutality. They want the explicit stuff. These are the people buying the romanticy stuff. They want everyone gay. They want all that stuff. So while older women make up the majority of romance readers, it's the younger women that kind of have the most power, and they're the ones taking over, especially now because that study's like I think 10 years old now. But like now they've surged up into power and are making romanticy. So those young women who want the explicit stuff, they're getting their explicit stuff. And see. Mr. Vet says, likewise, my mystery thrillers are so popular with women. LD, add a romantic subplot and you'll print money. Well, most people would. If I learned anything, I wouldn't. If I did that, for some reason, I just wouldn't make any money. But it could be because it's a trend. And so because of the trend, I won't do well in that. If it's like some weird niche nonsense thing, then I might shine there. But if it's a trend, I won't do anything. But yeah, mystery thrillers. Especially if it's about killing their husband. It's a plot about killing their husband. They like it. Killing your husband is big with women these days, and so is I can't believe that lesbian video is like 20 minutes. I think we got the idea. Anyway, chat. But here it is. This one girl did a really cool video about how Hollywood has romanticized cheating over the years, and from a long way off, like from a long time ago. Speaking of which, check this out, chat. Check this out. So cheating is the plot, and we're supposed to clap. And so, first of all, we got a bunch of women kind of figuring out, coming to terms with the fact that the publishing industry is catering to women through romanticy, where they're kind of celebrating and promoting the idea of these hardcore, explicit, like sexually explicit stories about ogres and everything, and the monster, the incubus. And then also now everyone's pointing out the fact that Hollywood really likes to romanticize the world of cheating and being unfaithful. And you hear like the modern day feminist types that are like this, like the idea, they like the idea of this established rich man who's like emotional turmoil is exciting and everything, and they kind of dismiss the good guy. They want the guy who's more exciting, who's more like volatile and stuff like that. They want the guy who's more toxic, and the guy who's more safe and stable and nice is not the ideal. So and why there's so many videos out there like that of women saying, "Oh, marriage is boring," because marriage is boring to the modern day, I guess, social media like the people who are on social media all the time. Like, marriage is boring. The exciting part about marriage is cheating on your partner. That's basically the message being pushed right now. He's not good enough for you. You got to go cheat on him. And yeah, it kind of feels like this comes from a whole generation of women raised on the idea that cheating is romantic. And she's going to point out a few of these right here.
I genuinely think that Hollywood wants me to cheat on my future husband. And I'm not being dramatic. Because according to nearly every romance movie ever, if my toxic ex-boyfriend shows up in the rain looking mildly regretful, apparently I'm supposed to throw my entire life away and run into his arms. And I grew up thinking that was peak romance, okay? 16-year-old me watched those scenes and thought, yes, that is what true love looks like. Messy, desperate, and completely willing to destroy anyone.
Let's see, Toby Broom says, so thankful my mom is based on science fiction nerd who hates everything mushy. She raised me right. Yeah, it's pretty good. My mom was pretty awesome too. Like, my mom got me into the whole fiction stuff. My dad was more like a mathematician, and he liked gangster movies. But my mom got me into not only watching movies but analyzing movies and everything. So my mom was pretty based too. Let's see here. This is a $5 super chat. Hollywood romanticizes cheating because most people in Hollywood are cheating. Probably, yeah. As far as I've seen in the tabloids, yeah, this is all cheating on each other all the time. So the movies and shows are them trying to justify themselves. Maybe, I guess that could be one point. Yeah, that could be one point of it. But it's only romanticized if it's a woman cheating. Now, if it's a man cheating, hold your horses. Now, this is bad. That's a severe evil betrayal. But if it's a woman cheating, oh, it's because she's following her heart and finding herself and everything. That's kind of the difference there. All right, men don't get the treatment of, oh well, he's just following his heart and finding himself for some crap. Like, no, that when a man cheats, it's bad. When a woman cheats, oh, you go, girl, follow your heart. It's okay, it's okay. And so Golden Reaper looks at the final super chat, says, sub need as what Karen do I got to slap to put a donation in? Let's see, dude. Let's see you, Golden Reaper. Appreciate it. Let me see here. Where's the right one? Yes. Thank you much, Golden Reaper. Appreciate it. Let's see here.
Who gets in the way. If someone leaves their fiance at the altar just because their real love walked back into town, that is not betrayal. That is epic. And I didn't.
By the way, I haven't seen Cheers, first of all, but they did bring that part up in the show Frasier, which is one of my favorite shows. Another show my mom showed me. Like, my mom showed me a lot of things from when I was a kid, like when that became the baseline for the movies I like, I guess. But the thing is, in Frasier, there's Diane, right? There's Diane who he falls in love with in Cheers. Like, Frasier was the villain for a while because Diane in Cheers, Diane kind of gets with I think she gets with the guy who owns Cheers. I don't remember, but then they break up and she goes insane or something. And then while she's at the asylum or the clinic or something, Frasier is her psychiatrist, and then he becomes a big part of the show. But eventually, the thing is that he is that Frasier is going to marry Diane, and something happens. I think Diane gets back with the owner of Cheers or whatever, or something like that, and she leaves him at the altar, and they don't get married. And so this comes back up in the show Frasier, where Diana's back in town. She becomes an actress, and she's like trying to play herself off as rich and successful. And despite having left him at the altar, she comes back to Seattle and says, "Hey, Frasier, you got to help me out." And because Frasier's a good person, he does want to, but he's still hurt by being left at the altar. But in the end, it's about Frasier having to come to terms with the fact that it's over between them. There's no reigniting that flame, and that he promises to be there to help her. Although he does give a fantastic, like, this tirade about this scorching Diane for the altar, and that one is pretty entertaining. But then at the end, it's Frasier apologizing to her and all that and everything. So yeah, when it's a man who gets left at the altar, he has to get over it. But I'm pretty sure if it's a woman getting left by the altar, unless it's like Flubber, right? Have you seen Flubber? That's like the one movie I've seen where the man can get away with it. And I'm like on the woman's side, we're like, wait, just 3 times? You still going to marry this guy after you forgot your wedding 3 times? And then he still forgets the wedding at the end. He does not make his own wedding by the end of the movie. He sends freaking Weeboo or whatever, Weebo, to go in his place while he's at the lab working on stuff in his tuxedo. I'm like, come on, lady. This guy? But yeah, I remember that. Anyway, Abajoni says characters from Cheers appear in one episode of Frasier, and they are all awful, so I didn't watch Cheers. Yeah, I think they're all flanderized in those episodes. They weren't very entertaining in Frasier when they show up in Frasier. Like there's a guy that wrote the book. There's the guy from that opened up the bar, the baseball star, who was just awful. They're like both he and his future wife are awful because the whole thing is about they both cheat on each other because they're both like sexaholics. So it's all about cheating on each other. But the girl says that she ends up sleeping with Cliff. And then that was the line, right? He's like, he'll forgive all these other cheating encounters because they're both their issue. But she sleeps with Cliff. And then even Frasier, who she also slept with, and he didn't know that he was she was his future wife, but he's like trying to hide that from the owner. And she thinks he's going to confess this, but she doesn't. She's like, I slept with Cliff. And then even Frasier's like, you slept with Cliff? He's like, I slept with a woman who slept with Cliff? Like, that was the line, sleeping with Cliff. But Woody's great. I like Woody Harrelson is fantastic. I like Woody Harrelson. Let's see here. Let's see here, chat. All right, here we go.
Even clock how insane that is until I watched the new Wuthering Heights movie. As someone who had never read the book, I went into the film completely blind. All I knew is that it was supposed to be one of the greatest love stories of all time because that's how it was marketed. And about halfway through watching, I was sitting there thinking, wait, am I supposed to find this romantic? Because
It's also funny because the Titanic is like one of the a legendary love story too, also about cheating. Because it's about the main character, right? It's about the main character cheating on her rich fiance because he's a jerk with this poor guy played by Leonardo DiCaprio. And that's supposed to be empowering and romantic, and we're supposed to feel for her, like, oh, you go, girl. At the end of the movie, where she's like throws a necklace into the water to honor and respect him, that sort of thing. Let's see.
here's what's actually happening. Catherine grows up alongside a boy named Heathcliff, and the connection is so intense.
Yes, she slept with Cliff, and Fraser slept with her. The thing. So, like, I think Fraser's like, I slept with a woman who slept with Cliff. That makes no sense. It's a Palestinian, thanks to the $5 super chat. I have an idea for a story based on Bluebeard. The idea is that lead might have an emotional affair is a point of dramatic tension. That's part of this video, by the way. She goes over different kinds of affairs. So this one, it'll be like this cheating, and there's emotional cheating and stuff like that too. So she has these different notions of cheating. So let's check it out.
Tense to the point of being slightly unhinged. Every time they look at each other, you genuinely can't tell if they're about to kiss or start fighting. But then despite this connection, Kathy marries a man named Edgar. He's rich, he's kind, he's patient, he gives her everything she wants and more. Just the whole package. Compare that to Heathcliff, who is mean, dramatic, and incredibly immature. So at this point of the movie, I'm Team Edgar. It is literally a no-brainer. Let the girl have a happy, stable life. But then all of a sudden...
It's usually the formula, though. Like the Titanic Rose's fiance is abusive prick. It's usually the formula. Like they need the fiance to always be abusive or mean or boring. Therefore, it can be justified when the Leonardo DiCaprio or the Ryan Gosling guy steps in.
Then Heathcliff shows up again and spoils all the fun. He's somehow even more unpleasant than he was before, and Kathy immediately falls for his toxic behavior. She likes him so much that she cheats on Edgar with Heathcliff in his own home multiple times. And imagine my shock when I realized that it's their relationship we're supposed to be rooting for. The movie frames their reconnection like it's the universe finally correcting itself. Edgar's feelings? Irrelevant. We're not supposed to care. After the movie was over, I genuinely felt like my frontal lobe had fully developed. Because now all I could think about was how almost every single iconic love story involves some type of cheating. And that's not an exaggeration. The Notebook, cheating. The Office, cheating. Titanic, cheating.
There it is, Titanic.
Cheating.
Wait, is Twilight about cheating? I didn't know that. I thought that she went to school and then Edward fell in love with her. Is the cheating that she cheated on Edward with the werewolf guy? Is that it? I don't know the story of Twilight that well. What is that? What she mean by the cheating? Where she gets with Edward and then she cheats on Edward, the werewolf guy. That's the only thing I could think of because I don't remember her having a boyfriend. Like in the normal story, I don't remember her having the boyfriend before Edward. I don't think so. But yeah, it's funny that the B movie is also about cheating because like she cheats on her boyfriend or something, or husband or whatever. I think it's a boyfriend with a B. just having your girlfriend cheat on you with a B. Like, man, at that point you cut it off, right? It's like, man, I dodged a bullet. Did she fall in love with a B? Like, talk about psycho.
So today I want to do something very simple and very petty. I want to expose the classic ways that movies romanticize cheating, the tropes, the tricks, the framing, and why it's getting worse. Because it is getting so much worse. So buckle up, because at the end of this video we will finally get the answer of why Hollywood is so obsessed with cheating. One of the main—
I know that the whole thing is like, oh, Team Edward and Team Werewolf Man, but I'm like, does she actually cheat on Edward with the werewolf guy? Or is it kind of like he's after Bella and then but she's with Edward, but it's a love triangle because he's trying to win her affections. I don't know the actual story of Twilight, and to at least to that extent. So like, I don't know what actually happens, but I do know about the love triangle. I know there's like this Team Edward and Team other guy, Team Werewolf Man. Let's see. Actually, the 10 Cheers, I don't think I've seen cheating in the Fate series. Yeah, because they're like, okay, we'll have a threesome in the Fate series.
Things that annoy me is how these movies treat cheating as this super common thing. Because the only thing I've ever cheated on is a workout plan. I'll wake up thinking, okay,
By the way, this is the smoothest segue into a paid ad. Check this out.
with cheating. One of the main things that annoy me is how these movies treat cheating as this super common thing. Because the only thing I've ever cheated on is a workout plan. I'll wake up
That's a funny joke, and like that's a legitimately like amusing connection. Like, oh yeah, everyone cheats on a workout plan, but that's an ad. She just swings in right with an ad with that.
thinking, okay, today is the day, and then 2 seconds later, I'm like, maybe tomorrow is better, and then tomorrow becomes next week, and then suddenly it's March. And it was only recently that I realized the reason why I kept pushing off exercising wasn't because I didn't want to get fit, it's because I was doing it alone. That's why I started using Trainwell. What I love about Trainwell is that it's not just one of those fitness apps where you're dumped on a random plan and left to fend for myself.
That's pretty good. That's a smooth, organic segue into an ad. Well done.
Thank you, Trainwell, for sponsoring today's video. The first trope I wanted to talk about is something I'm calling destiny cheating. Destiny cheating
All right, this is the chosen one. Like, oh, it's my destiny. It's, love at first sight. I'm destined to be with this guy. This is the Notebook, obviously.
is when the cheating gets framed as basically inevitable, like these two people were always going to end up with each other, and whoever got in the way of that was never a part of the plan. The most classic example of this is The Notebook. I know, everyone loves this movie. Ryan Gosling and Golden
I guess the most favorite movie by women of all time.
Hour lighting, building her dream house entirely out of love. It's a lot, and I fell for it too. But I need you to actually sit with what happens in this movie, because I feel like so many of us have been blinded by the love that we missed how genuinely unhinged it is. So our story starts with Noah meeting Ali for the first time at a fair. Well, meets is a generous term. He basically notices her in this huge crowd and immediately decides that she's the love of his life. Which, a bit extreme, but whatever. Unfortunately for Noah, she's there with another guy. Now, most normal people would immediately clock that and take it as a sign to just move on. But Noah is operating under a different philosophy, something along the lines of, just because there's a goalkeeper doesn't mean I can't score. He asks her to dance, she says no. He asks her again, she says no.
That's a pretty good technique. These ads are so smooth, they don't even realize they're ads until it drops the thanks at the end. That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
And again and again and again and again. But instead of giving up, he watches her get on the Ferris wheel with her date, decides to climb and dangle on the outside of it, yelling that he will let go if she doesn't agree to go out with him. And the movie plays this off as if it's the most romantic moment of the century. I'm sorry, but if a man scaled a Ferris wheel because I rejected him, I wouldn't be thinking, oh wow, this is fate. I'd be thinking, where are the police? And can we just acknowledge that this only works because he's Ryan Gosling? If this was literally any other man, it wouldn't be a romance movie, it would be a crime documentary.
Hey, could you imagine there's like some like neck beard is like, hello, I want to go out with you, and just hanging off the. First of all, I guess it's pretty impressive for a fat neck beard to be hanging by one arm from a Ferris wheel. But compared to that, like it wouldn't work. It only works if it's Ryan Gosling or something.
Thankfully, Noah isn't a complete psychopath, and they go on to have a really cute summer romance together, filled with boat rides, kisses in the rain, and doing the deed in a haunted house. How romantic. However, their love would soon be torn apart after Ali's wealthy parents didn't approve of her dating someone from a lower class. They have a big fight, Noah drives off, and they don't speak to each other for 7 years. 7 years! In that time, Ali
Like I'm pretty sure if it was Boogie, the Ferris wheel would topple over.
moves on, falls in love with a man named Lon, and they end up getting engaged. What's interesting is that most movies would frame Lon as this nasty partner so that we wouldn't feel as bad for him when he eventually gets betrayed, but The Notebook doesn't do that. Lon is kind, patient, emotionally mature, and you can genuinely tell that he loves her. His only flaw is that he's not Noah. That is it. Her relationship with Noah on the
Fair, it's a pretty big flaw. I dare he not be Noah.
other hand, was immature and chaotic. They were constantly fighting, hating each other one day and then making out the next, a pure emotional whiplash. The movie looks at these two options, the stable, adult-loving relationship versus the absolute roller coaster, and goes, yeah, the chaotic one is the true love. Which is quite a problematic message when you think about it. Anyway, then one day, right before their wedding, Ali sees a photo of Noah in the newspaper, standing in front of the house they used to talk about as teenagers. She then immediately immediately decides that she needs to go and check on him, just to see if he's okay. She tells Lon that she's going to take a little trip back to her hometown, but doesn't tell him why or where exactly she's going, and Lon, being the good man he is, just completely trusts her. Poor, clueless Lon.
Yeah, he's like caring and sympathetic and nurturing, I guess you could say, patient. I guess he has money because he's like a nice snazzy car, and he was a World War II vet. But he's not Noah, so that's too bad for him.
She shows up at Noah's house, gets welcomed with open arms, and they spend.
This is classic. Oh, I gotta go take a random trip somewhere. Oh, where? Oh, I have to go find myself. Every single time a girl, one of these female characters in the story says, I need to go find myself, or insinuates to it, it just means cheating. I gotta go cheat. I want to go cheat on someone. I want to go cheat on you with some other guy. That's usually what it means.
The week together. And by together, I mean together, while she's engaged days before her wedding. And from this cheating, she then comes to the realization that Noah is the man she wants to marry and not Lon. Really? It had to take you sleeping with him to realize that? Thankfully, this movie does do something right, and it makes her go back to Lon and tell him the complete truth, which in a normal world, this would be where everything implodes, because any normal person would go absolutely ballistic if they found out that their fiance just spent the week before their wedding sleeping with their ex. So sitting there, you're bracing for Lon's anger, but it never comes. Instead, we get this.
It's normal not to forget your first love. I love you, Allie. I don't have to convince my fiance that she should be with me.
I'm sorry, what? This man just learned that her little trip down memory lane came with a bed and breakfast at her ex's house, and his response is basically just, I want you to be
It's like I thought the final is it cheating if it's your other government girlfriend that is for research? Technically, no. I mean, if they have to agree to that situation, right? So technically, no. If it's all set and if it's a deal that's been established.
happy. Like, what? He reacts like he's losing a parking space, not a wife. And that is just so convenient for this movie, and actually the main point of this video. Because if he was furious, we'd be forced to sit with the fact that she cheated. We'd have to see the damage it caused. But since he's gentle and kind instead, the betrayal gets reframed as bravery. She's not leaving a man she hurt, she's choosing her soulmate. The film basically pats you on the head and says, relax, it's fine. Now look at Ryan Gosling in the rain. Now I know what some of you super fans are probably thinking.
Yeah, usually they kind of paint with no consequences, because consequences for her betrayal of her fiance or whatever would be too emotionally heavy. We don't really want to deal with it. We just want to get her. We want to see her get with her true love. That's the focus of the movie. So that's usually the focus of these stories. So that's kind of what happens, and they kind of just have the guy either deal with it or not care or die or something. I don't know.
What about the letters? Basically, if you haven't seen the movie, Noah wrote to Allie every single day for a whole year, but she didn't respond, so he gave up thinking that she moved on. In reality, her mum hid the letters from her because she didn't want them to be together. And yes, that is genuinely sad, and yes, I do think it matters to the story. But she finds out about these letters after she sleeps with him. The letters aren't even the reason she cheats. They're just the thing the film hands you afterwards so that you feel better about what happened.
The Jenny and Forrest Gump. I mean, I think it's written in a way where it's supposed to be romantic that he's still in love with her even after all this time. But you stop and think about it, it's like, oh man, he's like a big simp, and she just took advantage of this guy. Like when she steps back in to go back to Forrest, it's like, okay, she's been ran through by all these kind of weirdos, has AIDS, is a druggie, and just kind of strung out, and has been rejecting this guy, the one positive influence for her whole life, rejecting the guy for her whole life. And then even then only comes back to him once like no one wants her anymore, and he is a shrimp billionaire. So like, man, you gotta think about it for a little bit, man. Jenny is the villain of that movie, like really big villain.
The wildest part of this movie is that no one ever treats what Allie did like it's bad. There is one time where her mum attempts to call out her behavior, but it gets immediately flipped around.
You came down here. You knew what you were doing. You knew this would happen.
Oh, so now I'm a tramp. You're unbelievable.
Yeah, because apparently someone pointing out the harsh truth is worse than sleeping with your ex whilst you're engaged. The audacity is genuinely impressive.
Well, the answer was yes, right? I mean, the answer was yes. You cheat on your awesome fiance with your ex. I'm pretty sure that's pretty trampish behavior.
I almost respect it. So that is destiny cheating. It hands you a justification, the letters, the history, the first love, and it uses it to make the cheating feel not just acceptable, but inevitable. Like the universe demanded it. And once you notice it, you see it in absolutely everything. But not all cheating in romance movies looks dramatic. Sometimes it's just a little emotional shift. Because there is a sneakier version of this trope. Emotional cheating. To fully explain this one, we're going to talk about one of the most popular sitcom shows of all time, The Office. More specifically, we're going to look at Jim and Pam's...
All right, here it is. The emotional cheating. I think she categorizes different types of cheating. This is the destiny one. We're like, oh, it's okay that I cheated on my fiance, who's awesome, because my other romance over here was just meant to be. So it's correct for me to pick this one over my established one. Who cares about the fiance's feelings, right? And then this one is the emotional cheating, which you get in The Office, apparently.
Relationship, which a lot of people consider to be built on cheating. This again is going to be very controversial because everyone loves Jim and Pam. I love Jim and Pam. If you were to ask me a year ago if I thought their relationship was morally wrong, I would have said hell no. But after rewatching the show this year, my opinion has completely changed. What happens in that show is absolutely unhinged, but it just goes to show how TV shows can reframe anything and make us root for it. Season 1 of The Office is only 6 episodes long. 6! And in that time, the show somehow gets you fully invested in a relationship where one person is engaged to someone else. In the literal pilot, Jim tells us that he has feelings for Pam. He's always hanging around her desk, he's always trying to make her laugh, just super flirty vibes. And for the most part, this is all done in a way that could be passed off as, oh, they're just good friends. But then you have the lingering looks, the grabbing hands, the play fighting. And it's not just Jim. Pam
And he shrivels away. There's 24 months of process. Women wonder why there are no chivalrous men anymore. Yeah, because they're considered boring now. That's it. Because of all, I guess to me, because all the Hollywood stuff, all that chivalry is considered boring. Like these grand romantic gestures, like being a good, being loyal and devout and a good guy, is boring now because the whole Disney thing, the Disney Prince Charming, that's boring. Who wants Prince Charming? They want the turmoil. They want the toxic man. This is not just a conjecture here. The studies show this is what they want because, as I said before, Romance Writers Society of America or Romance Readers, I forget which one it was. That's what the kind of the studies kind of confirm that they want the toxic, emotionally turmoil, erotica romance books. And then now what we have, years later, what do we have? We have a dominance of romanticy, which is exactly that. These toxic, emotionally turmoil, emotionally volatile romance books. It's crazy stuff.
Plays into this dynamic as well. There's even a moment where Jim briefly starts dating someone else and Pam gets weirdly distant and jealous, which is not the reaction of someone who you see as just a friend. Quick background information, Pam's fiance Roy actually works in the same office building, just in the downstairs warehouse. And look, I know this is going to be a bit of an unpopular opinion, but Roy is not a villain. He's not abusive, he's not cruel, he is just a really bad boyfriend.
Man, I would be all over that if I wasn't dating Pam.
We're not dating, we're engaged.
Close enough.
Yeah, I never used to tell Pam how nice she looked, except if she asked. And once at our senior prom.
The show frames him this way on purpose, keeping him flawed enough so that we can convince ourselves that Pam deserves better. Is he the perfect boyfriend? No. But does he deserve what's coming to him? Absolutely not. Season 2 is where things get really crazy. It opens with the Dundies, which is the Office's annual award show held at Chili's. They're all drinking, the vibe is awkward, and it looks like everyone's just having a very miserable night. Especially Pam, who gets into a fight with Roy, who then storms off and leaves. So to deal with this, she starts drinking more and more and more and more. Can you tell where this is going? In her drunken state, she kisses Jim on the lips, which is crazy. I completely forgot that this even happened. The show immediately brushes it under the rug. As the show goes on, the two of them get closer and closer, which leads them to cross a few awkward boundaries that I will never get out of my brain.
Oh my god, hey, put me down. Hey.
I actually can't even look at that scene. It gives me so much secondhand embarrassment. Anyway, we eventually get to the moment the whole show has been building up to, the season 2 finale. Basically, Jim pulls Pam aside and tells her he's in love with her. Not I have feelings for you, not I think we should talk. No, he tells her he loves her. Pam immediately looks like a deer in headlights, unable to process what she's just heard.
Let's see. Bastiana thinks the fighter shits is the idea is my lead as a guy over a lot because her house is haunted. A possible affair could give Bluebeard a reason to make her another skeleton. It's kind of interesting. Is my lead as a guy over a lot because her house is haunted. Yeah, there's kind of you can have some like interesting circumstances where it kind of feels organic.
But she tells him that she values their friendship more than anything in the world and immediately shuts it down. So as you can see, this was dealt with in a really mature way with absolutely no cheating. Oh wait, no, they kissed right after. And look, I'm not gonna act like this isn't one of the most romantic moments in television history because it absolutely is. We had 2 seasons of slow burn build-up leading up to this moment. The show made us want it so badly. But when you actually stop and think about how this is an engaged woman weeks before her wedding, it doesn't seem so romantic. Season 3 is where the show seems like it actually might confront what happened. Pam calls off her wedding with Roy but still stays with him. Jim transfers to another branch and starts dating a new character called Karen. It's very obvious that they still miss each other and want to be together, but
Oh no, not Karen.
they can't face what happened between them. So the only real consequence they face is distance from each other, and the show frames that distance as sad rather than deserved. We never actually stop and think about why they're in that situation in the first place. But things get even more complicated when Jim's new branch shuts down, sending him and his new girlfriend Karen back to Scranton. Almost immediately, Karen starts getting the Roy edit. And what I mean by that is that the show starts to make her look like a problem. Not too much, but just enough. She's a little insecure, a little tense, a little why are you still clearly in love with your coworker? Which, to be fair, is a
See, there it is. There it is. Every time they want to gear your emotions. That's kind of what writers have to learn. Is that one part of being a writer is learning how to control the emotions of most readers. Maybe not all of them, but most. And it usually works. It's kind of why we have techniques like save the cat, kick the dog, things like that, shoot the dog. Because in general, people kind of feel and think the same way. People kind of have sympathy for the guy who's, for victims, and they know that the person is a bad guy when they hurt something innocent, and they know they're the good guy when they save something innocent. So you have save the cat, kick the dog, kind of determine that one guy is a hero, one guy is a villain. So that's one thing you learn as a writer is how to manipulate these things, how to get your readers or viewers in the right emotional state that you want them to be in. Usually how that goes. So this is kind of what happens when you want there to be a breakup and you want two characters to get together. You start demonizing the other person in the way. So Roy had to be a jerk, and now Karen suddenly has to be a jerk, right? That's how it goes.
Completely reasonable question, but the show frames it like she's being difficult. Later on in the season, the guilt of what happened starts eating away at Pam, and she decides to confess the truth to Roy, which obviously doesn't go down very well. Roy is so enraged by this information that he storms into the office and physically attacks Jim. And look, I know that violence is never the answer, but I mean, can you blame him? For years, he just knew that something fishy was going on between them, and he gets proven right. And for the first time in the show, we actually see the full weight of it. It acknowledges that this was real damage done to a real person. But then guess what happens next? Roy gets fired, and we pretty much never
He gets fired and he sails out of the show.
See him again. Because it's much easier to ship Jim and Pam when the person they hurt isn't in the frame anymore. Season 4 is basically the show going, congrats, you waited long enough, here's your reward. Jim and Pam are finally together. They're happy, they're cute, and they never once have a conversation.
This kind of setup kind of sucks when with Scrubs, because I'm a big fan of Scrubs, but man, JD sucks. He keeps so many times. Elliot Reed is have found this awesome guy, and then every single time JD has to step in and go, you should have been me, you should be with me, and he sabotages the relationship. He hates the person that she's with, and he even gets her to dump the other guy, like Sean, who's like dolphin trainer. He gets her to dump this guy for him, and then immediately says, I don't love you, I don't want to be with you anymore, and somehow Elliot forgives him. I don't know how. Elliot must be the some sort of Buddha, or to just contend with the horror that is JD. And then And then I find out that, at the end of the main season, they finally get together for good. Like JD and Elliot finally get together for good. Like, okay, maybe now, maybe they're gonna live happily ever after. They went through all the trials and tribulations, and they keep coming back together. The show really wants to hammer home two things at once: that they're terrible for each other and that they're perfect for each other. It's like, okay, that's interesting. And then I started watching the new Scrubs, which is okay, except for a few characters that are just like awful. It's like the Asian guy they added in there. It's just mean. He's just a dick. That's it. And the HR lady is just awful. They're not endearing like Kelso or Ted or anything like that, or Dr. Cox, because they keep trying to make Dr. Cox over and over and over again. It could never be catch with that lightning. They're just dicks. They're just mean. It's kind of like that one surgeon lady, that the surgeon attendant lady. They put in to make a female Dr. Cox, and she was just a bitch. Like there was nothing endearing about that character. She was just a bitch, and that's it. So, but they keep trying to recapture that lightning they had with Dr. Cox. Never works out. So they kind of really bogged down the show. But then, the point is, they come in and immediately they tell you that JD and Elliot got a divorce. I'm like, oh, of course they did. Of course they did. If you watch the entire show, that makes sense. But you kind of want to think that they didn't get divorced and they finally worked out after all the time, because what else are we doing here? That should be the ending, right? Where it works out. But no, because we have to have JD be single, because we have to have more trauma, more conflict. We have to, of course, get him divorced, of course. Even though they have a bunch of kids together now, I guess. But I was like, man, really? Of course they got divorced. I mean, anyone who has paid any attention to the show wouldn't be surprised about this if this were real life and real characters. But you kind of hoped that after all that time, 9 seasons of Scrubs or so, that maybe now they could live happily ever after. Turns out, no. The new show is like, nah. Ellie and JD got divorced because, of course, they did. That and all that stuff that they've gone through, all those times that Elliot left behind the perfect guy for JD was stupid. It didn't work. Those were all incorrect choices, turns out, because she got divorced from JD. Also, like, man, this sucks. It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch for these reasons. And see, Ronan Zars, I hated Ted Mosby and How I Met Your Mother, and like Gregory House and Chase as characters more than Ted. Well, House is like House, openly whores around. Like, he just buys prostitutes, but when he falls in love, that man falls in love. And so these assholes like House will openly be degenerate, but when they fall in love, they fall in love hard. And it actually is that, I don't know, is there something called the Hades complex? Because that's what it feels like. Like this, the Zeuses and everything, they whore around, they rape, but they have like the best PR, right? They're handsome. He's the god of the heavens, everything. Well, meanwhile, Hayes has the worst PR because he's the god of the dead, and has like and it seems like the most toxic guy. He's openly just vicious or mean sometimes. He could be mean, and he's openly this way. People can openly fear him because he's the god of the dead. But he has the most stable relationship in all of Greek mythology with Persephone. So I don't know. I feel like just the Hades complex, where it's like the toxic guy who's just or the evil looking guy who's like openly degenerate or openly scary, is like the most loyal guy. Like when he falls in love hard and is loyal to a fault. Meanwhile, the Chad Zeus, the Zeuses and the Poseidons are all just sleeping around with a bunch of women and raping them and tricking them into sleeping with them and stuff like that. Just the completely dickish guys. That's like a weird complex, but it's solidified over there in Greek mythology. It's not a gender or anything. It's right there in Greek mythology, the Hades complex. Let's see. Yeah, I now have zero interest in the Scrubs new show. Yeah, look, when they have the interaction between JD and Turk and Carla, because Turk and Carla are not only still together, they have a bunch more kids. But when you have like the interaction between JD and Turk and Carla and Dr. Cox, it's fun. They have the same chemistry as they used to. But then you get like the Asian doctor who's just a jerk, the HR lady, that stuff. And Dr. Cox kind of leaves in the first episode because he's like, spoiler alert, the whole premise of the new Scrubs is JD becomes the chief of medicine for Sacred Heart. So that's the whole premise. So he's kind of getting, he's getting used to being the chief of medicine, taking over for Dr. Cox. That's how that goes. So the old characters' chemistry is good. The new characters' chemistry awful. This completely bogs down the show. This completely awful. And see, so take it as you will. The thing is, it just really sucks that JD and Elliot got divorced. Like, okay, so that whole thing for 9 seasons of the regular show, waste time because they spoiler alert, they get married and they get divorced. Exciting. All right. I'm pretty sure they're probably going to get them back together. Will they? Won't they? Again, this show probably. That's my guess. Maybe they're going to get married again. Who cares? Lady Festus says Hades is probably the most popular Greek god out of the whole pantheon. Yeah, because he's the edgy boy, but he's got that the heart of gold. He's got that conflict. It's pretty intriguing.
About how their relationship actually started. No accountability, no reflection, nothing. And then a week after they officially started dating, Jim buys an engagement ring. A whole week. And she says yes, which is the biggest giveaway of all because you don't move that fast unless you've emotionally been there for years. Of course, The Office didn't invent emotionally cheating, but it did package it beautifully. It doesn't frame Jim and Pam as two people crossing lines, it frames them as soulmates stuck in inconvenient timing. And that's exactly how emotional affairs get justified in real life. We just couldn't help it. It was too real. It just happened. We had no control over it. The show builds an entire love story on that logic and makes it look gorgeous, so of course we fell for it. But emotional cheating only looks romantic when the camera is following the people doing it. Film it from Karen and Roy's perspective, and
so yeah, Rotazaro says Jason in House MD got divorced from Cameron since he killed an African dictator. Yeah, because Cameron, for some reason, just couldn't handle the fact that Chase set up a murder that killed an African dictator. Just couldn't handle it. Like, how dare you murder this African dictator? How dare you, Chase? And they eventually end up getting divorced. And that sucks because there's a whole seasons of build up for Chase and Cameron to get together, and they finally do, and then almost immediately they get divorced because no one can ever be happy in House. Like, you can't, anyone finds happiness in House, it immediately has to be taken away. Like, even Wilson, Wilson finds the perfect girl for him, even though she's kind of a bitch too, but she's a bitch to everyone else besides Wilson. So Wilson finds the perfect girl in Amber, and of course House gets involved, and then Amber ends up dead. And then of course that takes away Wilson's happiness, and of course House, his only real friend is Wilson, and he loses Wilson for a while because he's angry at him, all that stuff. So every time there's a good partnership or good relationship or some happiness in House, it must be extinguished. That's kind of what sucks about the show a little bit. I like House, but that is what sucks about the show. Nothing's perfect, right? So, but that is one of the negative parts of House, is that no one can ever really be happy. And today, Busman says Hades isn't even that edgy of the Greeks. He just makes sure Tartarus doesn't get bogged down by souls. He can be kind of a jerk sometimes, but that's about it. He's like the most chill of all the gods in comparison.
It's a completely different show, more like a horror story. Now that we got the big stuff out of the way, I wanted to quick fire through some of these other cheating tropes because they are actually insane. Starting off with the 2024 movie Baby Girl, which is an absolute masterclass at empowerment cheating. We follow our main character Romy, who is a girl boss CEO because of course she is.
I never heard of this movie before, but it looks very, very weird.
She has a beautiful home, 2 daughters, and a husband named Jacob, who she's been with for years. Basically, the entire plot of this movie is that she's unfulfilled in certain areas of her marriage. Wink, wink. But instead of simply communicating that with her husband, she has an affair with her much younger intern. Someone get HR on the phone.
It's like another thing. It's like another instance of The Notebook, right? And not the same story, but I mean, it's like if the genders were reversed, it would be this panned by the media and everything, right? It would be just hated by women. Like if The Notebook was reversed, it was about a guy who fell in love with his girl, and then they said they split up. They kind of drifted apart. Then he got engaged to another beautiful woman who's not evil or mean. She's just a good woman who's kind to him and patient. Then here comes his old ex swinging back into town, and he cheats on his current fiance to get back with her. And they go, you know what? I'm leaving you. I'm going back to my old ex. And then they had the fiance just be okay with it. pretty sure wouldn't be well liked by women. Pretty sure that would be something they wouldn't approve of. And I definitely know if they made a movie about this high-powered male CEO cheating on his wife with the young female intern, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't go so well either. Again, when a man does it, it's wrong. But when a woman does it, it's romantic.
Intern. Someone get HR on the phone immediately. The movie frames this as her sexual awakening and her just needing to find herself. And I'm not joking when I say this is literally the entire storyline of the movie, them exploring this kinky relationship. Can someone please tell me when finding yourself?
Don't have an affair with breakfast. Have a great day. LD chat. Let's each other in Trunks. Have a great breakfast. Dave Musselman says, at least Hades went to Persephone and said he will be his wife. She will be his wife, and then took her. If it was Zeus or Poseidon, very different story. Yeah, they would like trick her into eating some. They would like he would turn his dick into a tree, and then if she ate the fruit from that tree, she would become pregnant with his child. Like they would do crap like that, or become a goose and then rape her or something. That's what Zeus and Poseidon would do.
And ending up in another man's bed? Not just another man, her intern. Oh, and you will not believe how this movie ends. Eventually, her husband Jacob finds out.
Or the one thing on Poseidon, I think Poseidon's like claim to infamy is like him raping the goddess, the priestess of Athena, right? And then after that, Athena punishes her for being assaulted by changing her into Medusa. However, it is to note that that's the Roman version. The Greek version is just Medusa's just a monster. Who I think does have an affair with Poseidon, but it's more like mutual. It's not like an assault or anything. It's the Romans, I think, especially Ovid, who came in here and said, "Oh yeah, it was an assault. She was a priestess of Athena, and she was assaulted by Poseidon, and then punished unjustly by Athena." That's the Roman version. Oddly enough, Greek version, she's just a monster.
And of course is devastated. There's actually one genuinely powerful moment where he says that the life they built together just became the stakes that made their affair more exciting, which is such a painful and accurate observation. From there, they have an open and honest conversation about her desires in the bedroom, and
Zero Nazaro says Rayleigh's first introduction is that she loves young women like Nami. So Baby Girl would still be a film in reverse harem film in Hollywood if it was made by Netflix. Probably. I would probably say so too.
Then that's it. They make up, they live happily ever after. And this is where I lose my mind. Because if the solution this whole time was having a conversation with her husband, then what was the point of the affair? This movie is the definition example of this could have been an email. Now moving on, we have another.
That's crazy. Like this whole the Baby Girl movie is about how she has an affair, this wild affair with her younger intern, and she gets dominated by him and everything. And at the end, the husband finds out, I guess, and then they have they fix it all with a little conversation, and boom, everything's finished. Everything's good to go. David Musselman, let's get 10 gifted memberships. Thank you much, David Musselman. Appreciate it. That's $20. They get $20 donation. Thank you much, David Musselman. Appreciate it. Awesome. Thank you very much, David Musselman. Very cool. Very cool. And this puts us to we're halfway to Pillarman. Halfway there, chat. Halfway to Pillarman just now. Thank you very much.
The trope called cheating, but make it festive. Unfortunately, yes, I am talking about one of the best Christmas movies of all time, Love Actually.
Here it is, cheating at Christmas.
Even though it is my favorite, there is no denying that there are quite a few questionable moments. One of them being the storyline revolving around Juliet, who just married her boyfriend Peter. At their wedding, we meet Peter's best friend Mark, who has the job of filming their wedding video. It's clear
Alex Taylor says that the fate Medusa is a mix of both the Roman and Greek. Instantly turns into a monster, as kept killing people and even kills and eats her sisters. Which in the original Greek, the reason why it's Medusa that gets killed, because out of the 3 Gorgon sisters, she is the only one that is mortal. And so she's able to be killed by Perseus. So it's weird that she eats her sisters in Fate. That's the weird part. If you eat an immortal, you get if you get the immortality, that'd be kind of interesting. Like you absorb the immortal that you ate, right? And then because it means you can't die, it doesn't mean you can't be hurt. So if you eat part of an immortal, Do you get the immortality once it's absorbed into you? That's a kind of an interesting thought.
The jump that Juliet and Mark don't really get along that well. Juliet says that when they first met, he was strangely cold towards her, which she just assumed meant that he didn't like her. It's awkward, but whatever, not everyone gets along with their husband's best friend. Anyway, so Juliet goes to Mark's flat to pick up the wedding video that he filmed, but for some reason, he's weirdly hesitant about showing her. When she finally presses play, she gets the shock of her life. The tape isn't of the wedding. It's of her. Close-ups of her face, walking down the aisle, smiling, standing at the altar, frame after frame of just her. Which is literally insane, not just because this is his best friend's wife, but it's giving major stalker vibes. Fast forward to Christmas Eve, where we get this very famous scene. Mark standing outside Juliet's house with giant cue cards confessing his love for her. All the while, Peter is literally inside the house. Just outstanding behavior from a best friend. At first you think, okay, creepy, but I guess he needed to get off his chest and be done with it. No harm done. But no, it gets worse. Juliet runs—
Should you be angry that, hey, I hired you to film the wedding, not just the bride, you asshole.
After him in the street and kisses him. I'm sorry, what is going on? And then she goes back inside the house like nothing happened. Can you imagine if Peter looked out his window at that very moment, just got up to grab a drink and bam, saw that all unfold on the pavement? It is just insane, and I've never understood why that storyline is in that movie because it's not romantic at all. But that brings me to possibly the most common cheating trope in all of romance cinema, the girlfriend that doesn't count. You know exactly what I'm talking about. When the main love interest has a girlfriend, but the movie clearly doesn't care.
Hey, babe.
Oh, yeah, that does happen. I've seen some movies like that. Just the other girlfriend is there for attention purposes, but doesn't really count.
Just some dude, I don't know.
Just some dude.
Now who's being nosy?
People We Meet on Vacation is the perfect example of this. Poppy and Alex are best friends who have taken a trip together every single summer for the past decade. They are clearly in love with each other, but neither of them will admit it. And hovering in the background this entire time is Sarah, Alex's girlfriend. Yes, he literally has a girlfriend. And the crazy part is, she's actually really nice. Her only flaw is that she's suspicious of Alex and Poppy's friendship throughout the movie, which— fair, that is completely understandable. Her boyfriend is literally going on annual holidays with a woman he is clearly in love with. In the later years, Poppy herself ends up getting into a relationship and the four of them end up going on this couple's holiday. As you can probably guess, this gets pretty awkward. During the trip, Poppy randomly has a pregnancy scare and goes to Alex for comfort instead of her boyfriend. And you will never guess how this scene ends, by the way. Actually, you probably will, based on how this video is going. Yeah, they nearly kiss, because of course they do. So then after this super intimate moment, what do you think Alex does the next morning? Break up with his girlfriend? No, he proposes to her. What is going
Interesting move. I think it had like that Real Housewives sound.
on?
Like the little horror sound.
Of course they do. So then after this super intimate moment, what do you think Alex does the next morning? Break up with his girlfriend? No, he proposes to
A little Real Housewives sound. Let's see. Golden Reaper looks at $10 super chat. Thank you very much, Golden Reaper. Appreciate it. Let's see. Golden Reaper says not just cheating women are just as impatient as less. In the comics, Adam Eve couldn't wait 5 years for Mark to come back. Chi-Chi waited 7 years for Goku, as she was still a single mom. Yeah. And Goku was dead. Like, Goku was officially dead. I guess like Chi-Chi knows how death works. Is like if you're dead in that universe, you're not really dead. Like you can come, especially if you're Goku, you kind of just come back in a few years or whatever. And see, they much Golden Reaper appreciate. Like it's puts us this $40 away from Pillarman. Pillarman is $40 away. Chat getting pretty close.
To her. What is going on? Sarah, of course, says yes, completely unaware that her fiance almost kissed another woman a few hours ago. It is just one of the most all over the place.
And see, Alexander Tenshir says why Medusa kills people in Fate is because originally the Medusa and her two sisters were created to get people to go and become heroes for the gods. Using their charm magic, and after she loses her immortality, they all go to live on an island, and heroes try to kill Medusa because they thought she kidnapped the other two. Wait, they went to go kill Medusa because they thought she kidnapped her own sisters? That's kind of wild.
Plots I have ever seen. Eventually, Alex breaks up with Sarah, finally admitting that he does have feelings for Poppy, which I mean, about bloody time. And then guess what? Just like The Notebook, Sarah takes this breakup and admittal of emotional cheating really well. I mean, it's not like she just wasted 10 years of her life. And I cannot stress how common this trope is nowadays, and we're supposed to root for the man? Absolutely not. But now I want to flip this entirely, because we've talked about cheating when the audience is supposed to root for it, but what happens when the male love interest cheats on the female love interest? Spoiler alert, it's completely different. Let's look at
And not handled the same. It's, this is how we know that if the Notebook was flipped, if Baby Girl was flipped or whatever, it would not be seen quite the same.
the rom-com He's Just Not That Into You, which follows a married couple, Ben and Janine. From the very start, you get the idea that they're a perfectly normal couple. Not toxic, not miserable, just normal. But then Ben decides to blow it all up by cheating on her with a yoga instructor. But the difference with this movie is that it doesn't try to make the cheating romantic, not even for a single second. There's no framing that suggests he was just following his heart or that it was inevitable. He's just a man who got bored and made a really bad decision. And when Janine finds out, it is ugly, and the film makes you sit in every uncomfortable second of it. You watch her fall apart, you feel the embarrassment of it. The movie treats cheating like the painful thing it actually is. And in the end, they don't just have an honest conversation which somehow makes everything magically okay, she divorces him. Now compare that to literally every other story we've talked about. Ali cheats on Lon, but it's framed as if he's happy for her. Alex emotionally cheats his entire relationship for the past decade, and Sarah doesn't really care. The exact same act is either epic romance or unforgivable betrayal, depending on who it benefits. So Hollywood absolutely knows how to portray cheating as the disgusting, gross thing it is, but for some reason, it rarely does. So the question is, why is it so common?
Yeah, because when you're selling it to women, they don't really want to deal with that part. It's like, oh, well, she was following her heart. She was it was destiny or whatever. She found herself, and so that should be acceptable to everything. I think the excuse would be, a real man would understand. Like a real man would take it in stride, come to terms with that he's not the one for her, and then happily let her go. That's what they would say a real man should do. Like he shouldn't care about his all the plans, all the stuff he's invested, all the time is invested. That should mean nothing compared to, as long as she's happy, right? As long as she's happy.
For movies to romanticize cheating? And the honest answer to this is pretty simple. Cheating makes for a good story. It creates tension without writers having to do the harder work of building a relationship that's genuinely compelling on its own. Cheating also lets stories sell the fantasy of being chosen. That's the real drug underneath almost all of these plots. The idea that someone would risk everything for you, their relationship, their reputation, their entire life just for you. And when you frame it like that, it makes sense why this trope shows up constantly in movies aimed towards women. Not because cheating itself is the fantasy, but because being wanted that badly is. But there is actually a much deeper issue here, one that most people might not actually realize. It's called cultivation theory, and it suggests that the more you're exposed to the same type of storytelling, the more it shapes what feels normal to you. So when you grow up watching film after film where true love is treated as a free pass to cheat on your perfectly fine partner, you absorb that. And I know that sounds a bit dramatic, okay? No one watches The Notebook once and immediately thinks, okay, cheating is fine now. No, it is way more subtle than that. It's that you watch The Notebook, and then you watch The Office, and then Love Actually, and then People We Meet on Vacation, and slowly your brain starts building this picture of what love is supposed to look like. If your relationship is peaceful, it must be lacking. If it's intense and chaotic...
Pals, I just realized that Dan Fan made a video about this topic, specifically centered on MJ for the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. That's interesting. It's Dave also said I sent a video Discord comedian talking about The Notebook. I don't know what you're talking about.
It must be right. Because these movies don't just romanticize cheating, they tell us that if he doesn't dangle off a Ferris wheel for you, then it's not true love. And that is where it becomes a problem. Because real love is also loyalty. Real love is also honesty. Real love is also a boring Tuesday where nothing happens and you still choose that person. But Hollywood isn't interested in that Tuesday love because it doesn't make for a good movie. At the end of the day, the problem isn't that movies show cheating. The problem is that it asks you to call it romance. Because these stories aren't just showing us what love looks like, they're showing us what love excuses. And I'm sorry, but I'm done letting a slow motion kiss in the rain convince me that someone's partner is just background noise. And if you're gonna build a love story on betrayal, then show us the cost. Actually let us see the consequences. Because if your greatest love story of all time only works because someone got hurt in the process, that isn't romance, that's just bad behavior with good cinematography. Let me know your opinions on this in the comments if cheating is something that bothers.
All right, thank you very much. Here we go. It's Marina McBain. That's the one who that's the channel name. Fantastic, very very good. But yeah, it is really interesting that the Hollywood has been romanticizing cheating for decades. It might not be to like a what do you say? It might not be agenda driven or anything like that. It might be, who knows? But it's more like it's easy way to make conflict. It's easy way to present tension because if they're just two people kind of falling in love, it's kind of tougher to make that to fill that with tension. You kind of have to give you some. You kind of have to give something else. Like there's some outside force kind of keeping them apart, or something like that. Something like that. But if it's if both of them have a partner, or one of them has like a girlfriend or a fiance, oh man, something gets really juicy. Sally gets really really hot. It's a trembles away next to the $20 super sticker. Let me see, chat. Where is it? I have to go over here to the actual YouTube chat to see what the sticker is. Victory! Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Shambles 8 for the $20 super sticker. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. I'll give you one of these. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Let me see here. Holy shit! Holy shit. Thank you much, Shambles 8. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Very generous. And that puts us let's see, it's $20 away from Perliman. It's $20 away, $20 away, chat. Remember, it does pay off at the end of the week to get Perliman. We'll have extra streams. We'll go over extra stuff. We'll get more episodes of the Ice Queendom, which is really ramping up plot-wise. Doing pretty good over there. Let's see. All right, chat. All right. Let me see here. All right. Here we go. Let's do a little bit of this. I can watch a little bit of this. See where it goes. It's that what's it called? The second story channel. Your brain on fiction. How the content you consume changes you.
How many of you have heard this? It doesn't matter what you read, so long as you're reading. I can't think of very many statements that I disagree with more than that one. The reality is that the stories we take in have a direct, tangible, noticeable effect on our character, behavior, intelligence, and even mental health, positive and negative. It absolutely matters what we read. Here's the thing.
I mean, if you're a writer, this definitely is glaringly true. Because a lot of your stories and a lot of the stories you like to write are influenced by things you've seen. It's just how it goes. Like even Neil Gaiman talks about this, where it's his first stories were just kind of like copies or very clearly influenced, the very least, by things he's read by his favorite authors. And he kind of told a story where he went through his trunks, a big box, not as like swimming trunks, but he went through like his old stories and everything, and a lot of them just read like authors that he liked to read about. But then as he got closer to like his current age, okay, here's me at 18, 19, 20, then or maybe younger than that, maybe he's like 14, 15. Here's stories that start to sound like him, not people he's written or not people he's read, but like him, the Neil Gaiman voice. And that's kind of what writers talk about when we talk about finding your voice. Because a lot of your initial works will be something else. Entirely. It'll be a copy, or you're mimicking a writer that you like, or something else that you like. Very easy to do. And they'll be, the first things you write about will be this. It'll be a carbon copy of a lot of this stuff, like a lot of things that you like. Maybe like a mixed amalgamation. Like if you look at indie comics, right? And you're like kind of first time indie writers, a lot of the first time indie writers, it's going to be like, oh, it's Star Wars, but with more guns, or Western, or Western, with sci-fi. It's like just things you put together, as opposed to fully fleshed out worlds and fully fleshed out ideas. It's kind of like very on the surface, on the nose. I put these things together and here's your story. That's kind of how it goes. So eventually, as you practice, because writing fiction does take practice like anything else, you will eventually create your own voice. You'll develop your own voice and how you speak, how you frame things, your prose, your syntax, and all develop uniquely to you. In terms of artistry, this is kind of like an artist finding their own style. It's kind of like how you can look at Frank Miller and like, oh, that's a Frank Miller piece. Like it's either Frank Miller or it looks like Frank Miller. For those weebs out there, Toriyama. right? Toriyama's art, very recognizable. You get like, oh, you could look at Chrono Trigger, right, and say, and have no idea who developed it, but you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's Toriyama's art, right? So the equivalent of finding your art style for a writer is finding your voice. And so when you read something, oh, this sounds like this guy, or this sounds like that guy. And so that's kind of how it goes. And so the thing is, that's where you begin, though. You begin with what you know. You begin with your influences, and you kind of copy them. Kind of like if you read a lot of indie comics, that's kind of how it goes. You read Rippaverse, it's just carbon copy Marvel. It's carbon copy DC, carbon copy Marvel. That's kind of what it is. Like, that's kind of what you expect from a first time writer. Easily. So yeah, your first works are just going to be carbon copies of what you like, what you're into, what you kind of watch all the time, what kind of stories you really, really enjoy. And then after a time, after you've written a few things, then boom, you're gonna develop something uniquely you. This is why when I think of a story idea, I don't really care about sharing it or not, and thinking someone's going to steal it, because even if you do steal that idea that I present to you, then you're going to write it in a different way than I am. Right? You're just going to write it in a completely different way than I am. You're going to take the same pieces but put together differently. Right? Toriyama had a great art style. It's fantastic, but a bad case of the same face syndrome. I guess it's kind of true. It's kind of true. But I remember some time back, right? Let me see here. Let me get this up here. We'll come back to this video in a second here. And see. Okay. So some time back, I kind of let everyone know about my Disney, not Disney princess, well, sort of, I guess. But it's kind of like the idea I had if Snow White plus Game of Thrones, right? It's kind of what I had this idea. And then a lot of other kingdoms were present in the story, and they're all based off of different Disney princesses or different fairy tales. This one is like, Beauty and the Beast. There's a socialist kingdom, or the socialist government, or whatever, right? I did this. Here's Captain Hook, who is piracy. He's anarchy. They're all different philosophies. Here's Cinderella, who's democracy. The dwarves are the closest thing I get to communists. The Evil Queen's authority. There's Jack and the Beanstalk became a merchant king. That sort of thing. There's Rapunzel, which you can't really tell if she's liberal. The only thing that kind of tells you that she's a liberal is her evil smirk. And then Mulan is a fascist. Like, she's a fascist China. Pinocchio made a technocracy. Prince Philip is a conservative. He's a conservative kingdom. The Snow Queen, like Elsa, became like a globalist world dominator. So I kind of showed this off a couple of times, and then I went to Shad's stream and I showed it off. And I kind of just told everyone it's pretty. I like this idea. I think it's a pretty fun idea to go with, and I had no fear of anyone running with it other than me, because if you ran with this idea, you would make it completely different than probably what I would do with it, something like that. So, it's not too bad. That's what it means to find your voice, to know what kind of stories you make, right? So that's kind of where it is. It is a really big deal what your fiction is, because the things that you like, although it is kind of like, what do you like versus what you consume. Like, are you consuming because you like it, or you like it because you consumed it and you kind of like that? And I think it's a little bit of both, but if you do, it is very important to note what kind of things that you do take in, and how you study them, how you think about them. It's a lot better for you if you think about them, if you enjoy them, but think about them critically as well, because then you know why you like them. It's very important for a writer who wants to be a professional writer to not just read stories you like, but know why you like them and what you like about them. And it's kind of how it goes.
Books, movies, video games, television, etc. impact, alter, form, and manipulate your mind. This has been a scientifically recognized fact for almost a century in some areas, and it has been a known fact among the fairy tale tellers and fable writers for millennia. Right up front, here is what we know to be fact. First, fiction presents to you an image of reality which you will then use to construct your perception of the real world. Second, fiction can subtly change you over time. This includes changing your opinions, your behavior, your tastes, your beliefs, and sometimes even your personality.
That's good fiction, actually. So Why fiction is so important. Why it's important to be honest. Tell honest stories. Use honest storytelling, and if you make a rule, stick with it. Is because then we know it's going to be an honest story. And if you kind of explore after you make a structure and everything, you keep with it. When you explore deeper ideas, and you stay honest, you stay truthful, you kind of be fair, but it doesn't necessarily have to be equal to both sides. It's kind of, you can make your argument in there. But if you are fair and if you are honest, people can take interesting things away from your story. Whether it might be brave, it does not have to be political, right? It can be anything. It could be, the importance of being brave, the importance of being honest, which is a literal play. The importance of being earnest. His name, I think Oscar Wilde did that one. So the importance of being honest, the importance of being courageous, the importance of being brave, the importance of being, compassionate. It could be anything. It could be anything. The importance of standing up for someone else, or exploring ideas that are social issues or politics. But you kind of have to weave it in there. It can't just be a finger wagging lecture. But well constructed fiction will get you to think about these things. Okay, what the SJWs are doing is they're trying to they claim they're doing this, but their books are all agenda, their movies are all agenda, their TV shows are all agenda, and what that means is it's just kind of like a finger wag lecture at you. They're lecturing at you as opposed to writing a story where it's an argument. So if you so what people don't really want to think about, I guess, today is that stories are more arguments, should be more arguments than lectures. Okay, it should be here's my presentation, here's my evidence, here's the other side, here's my side, here's the extremist side, my extremist side. And that's because that's how kind of like what George Orwell was like, right? George Orwell's 1984, Animal Farm. It's presenting you a story, interesting story, and it's also an argument. It's not a lecture, it's an argument. Like here's a series of events that have a very close connection to like how communism comes up, everything. And so you kind of can read the story and come to your own conclusions. All right. George Orwell does not like lecture you in 1984. He does not lecture you in Animal Farm. He's giving you this horror show of a story, and then you can make your own conclusions, as opposed to SJW stuff, which is like white man bad, straight man bad, conservative bad. It's like, okay, well, that's dumb. You don't want to sit there for that.
This isn't a matter of believing this or not. This is simple reality. The question is, how does this happen, and what does it mean for the formation and health of our minds?
And just the importance of being earnest was the worst Ernest movie. Ernest Goes to Camp, Ernest Saves Christmas, and the importance of being earnest.
In my videos about smut and fan fiction, I pointed out that long-term consumption of particularly
Actually, did talk about
disturbing types of these things can lead to equally disturbing shifts in a person.
The one thing that was really disturbing was that the admission to romantasy writers and readers that they prefer romantasy books over movies and stuff like that, because you can get away with a lot more horrific, explicit stuff in books that could never be showed in a movie. That was one of the things he liked about it.
Its character. It isn't just analyses that I read that told me this, but also common sense. Yet for this, more than anything else, I was enthusiastically condemned. No, I was told in no uncertain terms, fiction is not reality, and it can't do that to people. Duh. Or other variations on the same. Within these communities, smut and fan fiction, there's a lot of talk about all the positive effects reading can have on your mind. Increased empathy, decreased loneliness, etc. But apparently when it comes to negative things, fiction can't have any effects on your mind. Duh. I mean, we know the difference between fiction and reality. Very often, too, I was told that insisting that fiction can affect behavior is identical to the silly arguments from the 90s that video games cause violence, which, yes, was absolutely false. So I suppose it's...
I think that the studies have said that it's not only was it false, the opposite was true. Like the violent video games actually helped decrease the amount of violent crime.
High time we take a closer look at just how much of an effect the fiction we consume has on our minds and our character. The video game thing gets brought up a lot whenever I try to talk about this, and so before we dive in too deep, I want to get this out of the way right up front, mainly because this particular issue is responsible for, by far, the most unproductive misunderstanding with this entire topic. Back in 1997, a troubled teenage boy by the name of Yvonne Ramsey took a shotgun to school and killed a bully and his high school principal. Not long after, in 1999, we had Columbine, which was one of those massive seismic cultural shifts that you don't realize has happened until you look back on it. Anyway, later that year, 60 Minutes aired a special on the topic of school violence and school shootings and did all kinds of narrative gymnastics to wriggle and cartwheel around every other issue and instead blamed quote-unquote violent video games for producing violent behavior, especially in teenage boys.
Yeah, violent video games in the 90s was like the gun issue now. So back then, they really wanted to destroy and dismantle violent video games. So every moment of violence had to be the root cause of it all had to be violent video games. Now the root violence of everything is being white and guns. But heaven forbid that they see this pattern of trans shooters and say that it's, the trans is an issue. Like, no, they won't do that though.
And he spent hours every day playing the violent video game Doom. The same video game that was also said to be a source of fascination for Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, the two suspects in the Colorado shooting, as well as 14-year-old Michael Carneal, who opened fire in Paducah, Kentucky.
Anyone who has ever played video games, including first-person shooters, and
I'm pretty sure it wasn't Doom. I'm pretty sure these guys were already psychotic. This happened to play Doom.
Knows that this claim is completely ridiculous. Sure, there were interviews with dumb kids saying dumb crap like, oh yeah, man, playing video games is the closest you can get to actually killing people. Because of course they said that. Some wide-eyed boomer put a microphone in their face and they thought they'd have a laugh because they were 16 and stupid. I'm assuming that like 9/10 of my audience already knows that video games do not cause violence. Maybe all of you. This is not news. By the way, if you're not convinced, there's a lot of data debunking this fallacy on my website. But why was this idea so prevalent? Why did it become such a huge issue? Because of one dumb 60-minute segment and a few histrionic talking heads on local news? Look again. But this time...
Tabby Broom says, I noticed this myself. When I read a lot of creepypastas, I like creepypastas too, it's pretty good. I noticed myself becoming numb to some things I didn't think was healthy. It was, in some ways, I was becoming more brave and but not entirely. It's once you read a lot of creepypastas, you find the tropes. You can the fear kind of, or any sense of fear or mystique kind of go away because you just kind of find the tropes. Like, oh, the hyper realistic eyes. It's pretty funny stuff. But yeah, you kind of get numb to some of these things when you read a lot of it.
Look past 60 Minutes. News wasn't the real clincher here. The same idea almost immediately began to appear in fictional television. For years and years after Columbine, we had police procedurals and movies and books that featured storylines in which troubled teenagers, especially teenage boys, were all playing violent video games, and more people believed it. Without a shred of evidence, without a speck of proof, without stopping to think about it themselves, without trying the games themselves, without talking to any kids who play these games, people just gradually took it as truth. And as much influence as a program like 60 Minutes genuinely had back in those days, the fictional representations did the vast majority of the heavy lifting. The TV shows and the movies that showed us over and over and over again false realities in which violent video games actually did cause violence in children primed the minds of people. And then when the next school shooter dropped, it would be a chorus of, he was probably on those violent video games. The idea was planted, nurtured, and allowed to grow without people really being aware of it, and certainly without being aware of how false it was, or even if they knew it was probably false. I want you to remember that. That's important, and we're going to come back to it. Of course, the immediate follow-up question becomes, why did they do this? That's a very interesting question, and one I'd invite all of you to think about at great length, but it's a little too big of a question for this video. And as much as I love a rabbit hole tangent, let's try to stay on task. No, video games do not cause violence. But remember, there's a reason people believed that was true for so long. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, the next big hurdle that we need to get over is this.
It was the boomers. I usually just typically blame a lot of problems on boomers, and I'm usually correct. Look, so you will blame everything on the Jews. I blame everything on the boomers. The boomers, it's every single time, every single big thing, boomers, every single time. It's always the boomers. And then a lot of things that are wrong with like with millennials and everything, boomers too. Like the boomers, they're all about coddling and helicopter parenting. And so now the millennials don't want to grow up, and they kind of like this, they kind of just freak out and everything now. You know, they can't really handle the real world. It has kind of been passed down from generation to generation now with Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Although unfortunately Gen Z is kind of broken out of that. Like I guess they're trying to rebel against their parents, the millennial parents. And like, you know what? I don't want to be a weirdo like my parents. I want to actually join the world. And so they kind of rebelled against their like far left parents, I guess. You know, the Democrat parents who just, they all hate Republicans, that sort of thing. And not a lot of Gen Z men, at least, are going really far right, as I guess an act of rebellion, which makes sense actually, because as I said before, you know, if you guys are reading the book Robert Bly, you know, Iron John by Robert Bly, essentially what a story tells you is that a cornerstone, a foundational element of masculinity is defiance, to defy things. Which starts off as defying things in general. So you get like the every dude's rebel phase, right? But then you kind of learn that it's not about rebellion. It's about rebelling against the right things, or more specifically, the wrong things. You know, it's about defying those injustices you see. It's about defying evil, defying the harmful elements in your society. You know, this is kind of the foundational element that gets men to take up arms and stand on the wall, to face down the enemy, to go on crusade. This is it. You know, it's a drive that men have to face down evil, to rebel. So evil says this, and a lot of people will kind of like cower, but a masculine man will say, no, I'm not going to do that. And it's kind of what it kind of leads into things like the superhero fantasies. Why the superhero fantasy is typically a male fantasy. So it's just about that foundational defiance that kind of defines masculinity. It's part of it. Specifically, in the story Iron John is the part where the key. So like the parents lock up Iron John, the wild man, in a cage, and Iron John holds the golden ball. And the golden ball in this situation is a metaphor for your joy. And the wild man, you know, Iron John stands in for the wild nature of man, wisdom and masculinity. Essentially, you have to get the key as a man to unlock that masculinity, but you can't ask for the key because the mother controls the key, and she will say no to you. You will never be able to just ask for the key. You have to steal it. You have, in every single iteration, you have to steal the key. And you have to go get that key in order to unlock your masculinity, and then you have to unlock your masculinity in order to get happiness. You know, to retrieve your bliss. So, yeah, you know, in Robert Bly, in Iron John by Robert Bly, he describes it very well how the story of Iron John tells you a lot of things. First of all, but one of the defining things is that a foundational element of masculinity is defiance.
If it has been widely debunked that violent video games cause violence or aggression in their players, why then do we still believe that any fictional media has any effect whatsoever on the formation of our character and our opinions and even our behavior? So, 2 questions. First, does fiction impact us enough to even be relevant? Does it form our character? Does it change our opinions? Does it alter the landscape of our minds for good or for bad? Does it change us? The answer is yes. The second question then is, if fiction has this much of an effect on us, then why don't violent video games cause violence? It might seem like I'm spending a lot of time on this, but this question creates a very convenient way for me to explain a really important distinction. So let's talk about this.
Let's see. Megalithon. Thank you much, Megalithon. Appreciate it for the $20 super chat. Thank you much, Megathon. Very, very generous. Appreciate it. Let me see here. Where is it? Ah, here it is. Holy shit. Thank you very much, Megalithon. So I rotate my consumption. I do love cultured stories. I see. But then with the 40K, Star Wars, new Thrawn book, HP. Heck, I have all the Sherlock Holmes narrated by Stephen Fry. Those are good. Those are the good ones. I like the Stephen Fry narrated Sherlock Holmes. Will I grab a new harem slop? Of course. Yeah, it's good to be varied. It's good to have especially if you're going to be a writer, it's more essential for you if you're going to be a writer to have a wide variety of things that you read. It's kind of why I also read not only like the Jack Reacher stuff, but also dive into things from other cultures, other genres I might not usually be interested in. It's to see how that is handled. Because it's important for you to know these things and how these other stories are structured, how they're built, why they work, things like that. Thank you much, Megalithon. Appreciate it. And that gets us to, I think we're just $4 away, actually. I think we're just $4 away from Pillarman. Yes, $4 away, Chad. Just $4 away. Actually, I think 10 cheers I don't think they go away, LD. Have you seen how many times Minecraft removed Hero Brian before he stopped coming back? Was he real? Like, was that? I thought that was a rumor that he existed. Let's see. Palciana says it's a pretty nuanced topic. Book Talk is a place I don't want to go since they know for being obsessive. I can't judge people liking dark stuff, and Book Talk is very little else. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. Like, the thing is, it's okay to like these different kinds of stories. Okay to like anti-heroes. Okay to like these dark stories. But like I said in my video, with the one I just released, what I say in that is, it's okay. Like, there's no problem. There's no real issue liking the Punisher. Like, I like the Punisher quite a bit. I like the Boys comic. It's pretty good. I like these sorts of characters, like Goblin Slayer, but they're not really going to be places you want to stay. Like, they're good. They're cool to visit, but these are not the characters that kind of we want to mentally stay at. All right. I like reading the Punisher. I'll read Garth Ennis's run every once in a while, but then I'm going to go back to Superman. Right. That's kind of where I want to stay. That's my home, is Superman. That's kind of what a lot of people want to see. A lot of people want to go to the noble hero who's going to be good, just, and kind. But it's fun to have a little dalliance with anti-heroes and dark stories, but we kind of want to go back to the noble hero with the happy ending and everything. And see, I like to say the Tenshira's Hero Brian was just a creepypasta. They led into the joke and kept saying that he removed him. Guys, I thought that was like a fake story. It's really like Notch's brother who's haunting the game or something. That's what Hero Brian is. But I didn't think it was real. I was like, okay, but yeah, that makes sense. It's creepypasta. That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. And see.
All right, so firstly, violence in fiction is safe because it isn't real. The human mind does not perceive violence in video games, movies, books, or anything else in the same way it perceives real-life violence. The perception of unreality helps to mitigate the effects it has on our minds. You can find some studies in my linked article, but the bottom line is that if we know the violence is fake, it doesn't impact our minds like real violence does. Hence the lack of increased aggression with violent video games. Even if it's disturbing, even if the suspension of disbelief is present, our minds know it isn't real, so it doesn't register the same way real-world violence does. There have been studies done on children, that's a slightly uncomfortable sentence, in which these children were shown violent movies and their reactions were analyzed. If the violence was obviously fake, such as cartoons or that kind of
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. Heroes are steak, anti-heroes are candy bars. I think it's a pretty good comparison, especially since, sometimes, there's some steaks that are better than others. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, sometimes you might say steak is terrible. You don't like it's chewy, it's tough, not really tasty. But then you get someone who can you can then cook steak really well. Like, oh man, I forget candy bars. I want this steak. but yeah, it's easy to enjoy candy bars because it's tough to really get one wrong. Because all you gotta do is make it sugary and sweet, and it's really easy to enjoy it. Where steak, you kind of have to have like a little technique to it. You kind of have to know how to make a steak. So that's a pretty good comparison.
Stooges obviously fake goofy violence. Even if it was scary, it didn't have an effect on their behavior. If, however, the violence was more realistic, as in, for example, what you'd find in an episode of Game of Thrones, the kids couldn't clearly perceive that it wasn't real. These children then exhibited increased aggression and violent tendencies. So our ability to perceive that the violence is fake is an important aspect. And I know what you're going to say. What about desensitization? We'll get into that later. When we watch a well-made movie with graphic violence that absolutely looks real, it might turn our stomachs, but we know in the back of our mind that that actor didn't actually get disemboweled. So after the movie's over, we don't really think about it anymore. Not because we're heartless, but because we never thought it was real.
Yeah, it's like we need to, watch out what kids watch because they don't understand this stuff, and it could very much traumatize them. They don't always understand that what they're watching is fake. They can't comprehend that usually.
Or genuinely sad and tragic to begin with. It was all pretend. There's pictures of that guy wearing a $4,000 suit on the red carpet a year later. We know this. And even if we cried because we were into the story, we knew it wasn't real. There's a visceral and neurological difference between watching that actor get hanged and drawn in Netflix's Robert the Bruce biopic and then looking at grainy black and white photos of Yukio Mishima committing seppuku. Because you know that only one of those sets of images is presenting actual reality. That knowledge changes your perception and therefore changes the impact it has on your mind. Briefly now, let's talk about that four-letter word, the one I accidentally renamed Norp a few videos ago. Visual live-action adult content is unsimulated. It's real. That's not CGI. That's actually happening. Even when there's violence, even when the actors are bleeding or crying, or their bodies are struck resulting in red welts, it's real, more or less. We know all of that is actually real and happening. Therefore, our minds perceive it entirely differently. There are many surveys and analyses that have been done that have shown that increased Norp watching is more closely related to increases in violence and aggression than video games ever were, in large part because it's real. What about animated Norp, you might ask? We'll get to that, I promise. But for right now, just to get this out of the way, it's important to understand that any content of any kind that we take into our minds has an effect on us. But the reason violence doesn't cause violence is because the human mind perceives it to be fake. Perceptibly real violence causes an increase in aggression in children and adults. If it's known to be fake, the effect is basically null. Sources in abundance in the linked article on my website.
Let's see, chat. I think it's all the time we have for today, chat. So we're going to go to stream memes, and I think we got close enough to Pillarman. I'd say we got close enough to Pillarman. We'll go ahead and count it. Let's see here, but here we go, chat. Going to go ahead and transition over to stream memes with Pillarman. So lower your volume or raise your volume, whatever you prefer, chat. And Pillarman, loud clip incoming. Pillarman, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ay, 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 ay.
Oh, yes. Best chat. Thank you very much, everyone, for your generosity. Very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. But here we go, chat. Stream memes. Here we go. So, by the way, chat, my subscription to Audible renewed a few days ago. So therefore I got a credit, which I spent immediately on Order of the Phoenix. So now I get to see like what the actual story was about as opposed to the movie that they gave us, and I'm gonna see Umbridge in her full glory, I guess. But yeah, what was it called? The Goblet of Fire was still a weird story, but it was way better. It was way better as a book than it was a movie. Like way better. There's so much more stuff there. Let's see. But anyway, chat. Let's go. Chuck Norris and the cat. Therapist. All dreams have a meaning. I dream. Dinosaur on jet ski. Let's see. Iranian mullahs informed that less than 24 hours after the passing of Chuck Norris, there are no more virgins in heaven. Oh no. The crazy thing about that is that they're not actually humans. The virgins you get in heaven are like these weird demon things. It's kind of strange. Let's see. Lightning McMeth. Yeah, it's got missing teeth. Do you think that the Itsy Bitsy Fighter gave a fuck about the rain? No, it climbed the spout again. Lock in, bro. As people talk about Gaston's ego, but no one ever talks about how Belle spends the first 3 minutes of her screen time saying about how the entire village, everyone in it, and their way of life is beneath her. That is true. This is my brother's page. He owns his own company. He is the boss. He's literally the only employee. And see. It's pretty funny. Complete termite and pest control. Congratulations to Jonathan Warrington for being employee of the month. Jonathan will get a 3-day and night all expense paid hunting and fishing trip to Arkansas for his hard work. Wow, that's pretty good. I'm thankful for having such a great boss. He's his own boss. That's pretty smart. I'm like, oh yeah, he did it. My employee did a great job, so I gave him a all expense paid vacation for 3 days on the company's dime. Pretty good. I guess he is the most productive, technically speaking, because he's the only guy there. Nobody imagined modern firearms when they're writing the Second Amendment. Nobody imagined modern women writing the 19th Amendment. That's true. They didn't. Let's see. Died 2011, born 2026. I am God. Welcome back, Sonic. Let's see. What is this? I see a small apartment, fortune telling. I see you alone. A lot of Steam games. Jesus, a lot of Steam games. How much money do you have spent on games? Do you even have play any of these? Nope. It's the one weird thing about cats is that murder mode isn't the first photo, but the second one. I'm not fluent in German by any means, but this sounds like a terrible bukkake problem. No, sir, please. We don't accept those deposits here. They tries the sperm bank. Das come problem der Deutschen Bank. Let's see. Actually, Chi-Chi's father is a king. That makes Chi-Chi a princess. That means Goku is a prince. Well, kinda, but he's like the prince of oxen, not the prince of Saiyans. Vegeta would still be the prince of Saiyans. Goku is by marriage prince of oxes, I think. I think that would work. Stop looking at the summer sale. Buy Nintendo games at full price. AI company CEO discussing as AI safety. All of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make. It's a yo Moogie is so fat. That's the word for mother. And to the Frankie Commerce Authority, they said her for forming a union, and she was the only member. That's true. A union. Investors, Kimishima. What are your plans to save Nintendo, Kimishima? This, I guess, exist. Let's see. Breast physics. Nose physics, yes. Let's see. And remember that Minnie was in Mickey's bathroom, by the way. Mickey has a picture of Minnie's fat ass in his bathroom. Real player. Bread. Let's see. They can't catch you cheating if you don't cheat. That's true. Absolutely. Cheating, it hurts everyone. Let's see. Bros before hoes, man. Let's see. Bros before hoes. A lot of text. Did you hear that Ashley's having an affair? Let's see how the web became unreadable. Discovers why internet became a medium. Sign up for Discover Human Stories. Yeah, because you have to pay for everything now. It's a bold strategy, Con. See what works out for them. See, I'm not making progress, but with my bucket list, change the B to an F, and you'll feel better about it. The bucket list. Let's see. Iron John mentioned. Take a drink. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, chat. Thank you very much, chat. We're going to go ahead and close the stream for today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you much, Best Chat, for always being Best Chat. Have a wonderful rest of your day. See you again, of course, next time.
On a cold winter morning in the time before the light, in flames of death's eternal reign, we ride towards the fight. When the darkness has fallen down